First off, we had Simon, silly old ink, and now we have Simon 2. Silly old fish. Gotta say, right now, I love this box art. It's incredible. Gone are the days of creative collages of characters and colourful new worlds. No, we're just gonna have face. And before I get into the nitty gritty, I can definitely say out the gate that not only is Spyro 2 GBA so much better than the first one, but it's also actually probably one of my favourite GBA games of all time. No, I'm not pulling you. This is an unironically great game. The idea is the same as the first, and from the initial glance, it looks exactly the same, but trust me, it's far from it. I mean, look, it has slopes. First off, the controls are way better. You've got more mid-air control while jumping, you move slightly slower while running and charging, but that just makes it way easier to charge everywhere without running off the stage. The camera moves automatically towards the direction you move, giving you more chance to see what's coming. They brought the changing elemental breaths back from Enter the Dragonfly for different styles of attack and puzzle solving. And yeah, there's puzzles now. It's not just a run around and pick everything up spiel. You have side missions with different things to do, more secrets to explore. There's no more repetitive speedway shooting sections, and instead these Sheila and Agent 9 levels that offer totally different and fun gameplay styles, like side-scrolling run and gun missions, which I really get a kick out of, or isometric slower-paced puzzle platforming, and Sheila's dialogue face looks like There's power-up gates now for extra powerful breath attacks for further puzzles, or even new ways of exploring the better-designed levels. And if you get lost, oh my god, there's a map! Which shows you where you are, blacks out the areas you haven't explored yet, and even shows you where level doorways are on the hub world. Sliding backwards when getting hit has been totally removed, which is great enough on its own, but even if you do die, it doesn't matter because all of your collection progress during the level is saved, except for the treasure chest key. Why? And you don't go back to the beginning of the level because there are checkpoints throughout now. And the music, oh, the music is so... Along with doing new and different things in each stage, whenever you do complete a mission, you also don't get randomly picked up and spat out on a bit of dirt 3 miles away from where you just were. And you even collect fireflies in this game, which is class. It's way better than collecting lame-ass fairies. I don't want to collect them. What do I look like, a wuss? They always get in your hair and... oh... There aren't only more bosses to fight, but they're also Crush, Gulp, and Ripto from Spyro 2. Not my favourites, but still more familiar and better executed than whatever this thing is that can service 2 at once. You know what else I noticed? Sparks keeps wanting to say ass and the game never lets him. He's always just about to say it, but then the game chickens out like it's E for everyone or something. Literally everything wrong with Season of Ice is fixed here, and I couldn't be happier about that. Even the little things like each playable character flying back to the hub world is great. It's a flying ape. And character dialogue having these noises is great. It sounds like when I'm trying to fit on a tight boot. I also love to stand on moving platforms and hold the look button down. Bye-bye, Simon. The only part I really don't like is this one mission here when you got to use electric breath to protect a mouse loading a rocket ship, mainly because for some baffling reason, the lightning breath just doesn't work, only in this part of the game too. But who cares? I can't be angry at the first video game ever to have a level made out of runny green cheese. You don't have to 100% the whole game to finish it either. And if you do choose to 100% it, you unlock a bonus game from the main menu called Sparks Panic. Now it's basically the exact same Sparks shooting you already know by this point, but it's wave-based now. And then you can even play Dragon Giraffes! And you know the small price to pay for such a great game? Every so often, you get a tiny tad of slowdown. But honestly, that really doesn't bother me. I like to look at Spyro 2 GBA like a little old man. Yeah, he may slow down occasionally, but he's got more wisdom to make up for it. And he hates foreigners. Well, okay, I'm gonna stop teasing you. Here we go. This was the game I was talking about. The PS1 heavyweight that actually started a million new skating game trends and spawned 1,000 poor man imitators. Tony Hawk's skateboarding. Okay, it's not as catchy as Pro Skater, but did you know that prosciutto is a curse word in the UK? Yeah, it's true. It's very bad to say. So when this game came out in the UK, they changed the name of it. And if you don't like that, then you can suck my prosciutto. Now this was the one you were waiting for me to talk about, wasn't it? The good stuff, the original, the classic, the start of extreme sports games being so good that everybody would try copying it for years to come. slow, the clunky, the lumpy, the not quite as good as your nostalgia would have you think. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, there is absolutely no point going back to Pro Skater 1 in my opinion, unless you survive off of disappointment. Don't get me wrong, this game is a classic, make no mistake. It planted every seed it needed to with the creative level design that took everyday locations and turned them into skateboard theme parks, and popularized the addictive gameplay loop of performing tricks while exploring to earn VHS tapes and unlock more levels. But there's so much not here, especially if you like the later Tony Hawk games. You can't manual to link tricks together on flat surfaces, you can't revert after landing from ramps, the level selection is pretty small, as are the levels themselves, and take around 3 attempts at maximum to finish. The controls feel a little on the heavy side, especially with getting air off of ramps. You can't wall ride or wall plant for more combo and level design potential, and it doesn't matter how hard you try or how good you smell, it's so easy to not land properly or outright clip through the obstacles. Tony Hawk Pro Skater is Crash Bandicoot 1. It's fine for what it is and amazing at the time compared to the competition. But nah, nowadays it feels like a bathroom trip after Mexican night. How about Toy Story Racer? Another great PS1 game and one of the most underrated kart races of all time if you ask me. With some of the smartest and most unique track designs ever, mixing with bouncy controls that feel exactly like you're messing around with an RC car. In fact, back in the ancient history of my channel, the 6th game review I ever did was actually of LEGO Racers. But like every other old video of mine,
it's time to get real. Behind the wheel.
oh, this opening, it still gives me nostalgic chills. If you want me to feel like a kid again, you show me this intro. I don't know why you'd want me to feel like a kid again. We then get shown a high-octane cutscene that, again, takes me right back to my childhood when I first laid eyes on this game and thought it looked like the coolest and most exciting thing ever. Especially when the PS1 graphics and FMV worked really well with LEGO, since most of the PS1's attempts of making real-life people ended up looking like LEGO anyway. And let's be real, the game itself kicks you hard everywhere else with the amount of stuff you get to play with right off the bat. For a game about Lego pieces going to the races, this is one of the most comprehensive toy boxes for creating your own cars and characters to play with of all time. And this is a PS1 game from 1999. Now, since I have no imagination, I decided to make a character comprised of the ugliest choices in each section of the body. Perfect. I'll name him Uncle Dip. And let me just say, this uncle is ready for a dip. But what kind of car does he drive? Well, that's easy. Welcome to the Dipmobile. Yes, amazingly, when it comes to creating all of your cars, if you have enough space on the body that you chose and the bricks fit, you can drive it. Which is not only impressive, but also means this is the only kids kart racer that allows you to drive in a medieval coffin with a spoiler. I mean, sure, you can't see Uncle Dip inside of his own car, but by doing that, I think I've done the world a favor. So as you can see, this is a pretty standard kart racing game. You've got multiple racers against you, tons of tracks based off of themed LEGO sets of the time, power-ups to pick up and use, shortcuts to discover by solving puzzles on the track or blowing them up with rockets, and you have to try your hardest to get to first place in each Grand Prix so that you can gloat. The major problem I have with LEGO Racers though is how it controls. I've got to be honest, it doesn't feel that great to play nowadays. The speed is fine, but the turning is some of the heaviest and most awkward I've ever touched. And trust me, I know what you're about to say, it looks obvious why my turning is heavy, doesn't it? But even though the customization aspect may be one of the best bits of the game, from my experimentation, it doesn't make a single difference to the handling of your cars. Nope, not even with the special car bricks you can unlock by coming first in the boss race Grand Prix against classic LEGO characters like Captain Redbeard, Johnny Thunder, Basil the Batlord, and Mr. Race Complication. I even made a special car that was completely naked because that's what Uncle Dip likes, and it was just as heavy, but nowhere near as funny as a giant yellow cube. The thing is though, everything else around these floors are so charming and uplifting, I can't be angry with LEGO Racers. Even the music is completely insane. I also really love the power-up system in this game. You see, you don't just pick a power-up and use it. I mean, you can do that, but here's what you should really be doing. Firstly, you have to grab a different colored brick to get a different type of power-up. A drop item, shield item, offensive item, and boost item, respectively. And then you can choose to either use it immediately or save it while collecting special white bricks on top of the current power-up brick that you have to make it more powerful, with 3 white bricks making it max power. You can destroy everybody in front of you, or open a literal dimensional rift to teleport ahead of the track. It's really cool stuff, and with all the other racers stealing the best power bricks that you need, it's not that easy to spam overpowered abilities, adding a nice bit of thought behind you using the low-powered attacks more frequently to get ahead, or just hoping that you get lucky and saving the more powerful ones for later. And then you remember that there's no 4-player mode. In late 1999.
with Crash Team Racing already existing on the same system.
Alzheimer's? Wait, no, that's not what. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a first-person survival horror stealth puzzle large Big Mac meal with carrot sticks that came out in 2010 and is the first thing that I think of whenever I think viral horror game. There were probably more popular scary games before this, but I don't care. Straight away, the game lives up to its namesake because the main character doesn't remember what his own name is.
What have I done? Don't forget, some things mustn't be forgotten.
So in that case, my name is Rethetheth, and let me tell you, this game is scary. And if you don't like strawberry jam, windy doors, and men that can't walk straight, this will be too much for you. That's what you're doing for most of the start of the game, honestly. Following spilled ice cream, avoiding doors blowing off everywhere and falling over, and you begin to wonder what the big deal with Amnesia is. The game and the disorder, because, I mean, you only forget a few little things like your shopping list or your wife. But don't worry, because there's a very nice old fruitcake telling you all the backstory you need as you go through the game and your memories start coming back to you.
What did you call it?
The inner sanctum. My most precious chamber, Daniel.
And considering everything else you'll see in this castle, he really is the nicest man in the world that only wants to help you. But like I always say about the nicest people, do you know what an anagram of nicest is? Incest. So... And you'll quickly find out why. There's skulls in the cupboard, there's an electric hole, there's an invisible monster chasing you in the water, there's a dead body trampoline, there's a single beautiful bunch of flowers growing in the middle of the torture chamber, the castle is growing skin, and there's a baby throwing up into the bumhole of a man. Speaking of bumholes, that's what's chasing you in this game. Walking, grunting bumholes. They waddle around looking for you in the darkest depths of the castle, forever wondering how different things would be if they didn't go for that lockjaw surgery. And this thing? This thing is like if Disney did a live-action remake of Pac-Man. So obviously you don't want to be face-to-face with these mangy old flaps because they look a little intimidating and they'll kill you. That's another less important thing. But for some reason, our main man Daniel is in denial about being able to defend himself. He can pick up everything around him and lob it around like an Australian, but it doesn't matter if you can lift a rock or a sack or a book. It won't make a dent on anything around you aside from the environment for some really cool and clever puzzles. In its rawest form, this is a stealth game. The only way out of a sticky spot is to run or hide. And hiding won't save you forever because in all of the best hiding places, even the shirts are dead. You run, you hide, you pray they don't spot you. And even better, while hoping they don't spot you, you can't even look at the monster for too long lest Daniel-san wets himself and starts losing his sanity. Essentially, Amnesia is a big smelly puss simulator. I know violence isn't always the answer, but he's clearly okay with cutting off limbs in his memories and even drilling holes into heads in the present day, so cut this beta shit out. If you can pick up moldy bread, you can hit these things with something. One thing you don't want to throw anything at, though, is this nice young man. This is Agrippa. Another important thing? Light. See, if you don't have enough oil in your lantern or don't have any tinder boxes that you find scattered all over the place to light torches, lamps, and candles, you are stuck in the dark, which also ups the difficulty in a different way, by making you start hallucinating. Usually it's just cockroaches on the screen and on the floor, and yeah, whatever, I'll have cockroaches on my face, no sweat. At school they used to call me Jim Roach. But then it starts getting way more obstructive, like making you hear noises and voices from all angles around you to make you try and hide from something that isn't there. And eventually your vision will turn into how your eyes go after playing Guitar Hero. Movement and navigation gets trickier, and then you have to consider the light. You need light to stay sane, but then too much light not only drains your limited resources, but also makes you way easier to spot to the monsters. So you've got to balance light, hiding in the darkness, sanity, and not looking too long at the enemies, while trying to figure out where you're going, while trying to find hidden items, while trying to solve puzzles, while trying to be quick so that you conserve your light, but not too quick so that the sprinting alerts the enemies, while the deathly bellowing music screeches at you while you're being chased. And when all of the pieces fit together at the right time of night with the right pair of headphones, it's enough to make you... By the way, if light is so vital to my survival, why can't I just pick up candles? I'm more than okay rubbing against them and that's fine, but leaving them here seems really stupid. You're not Daniel, you're Dumniel. But don't panic everyone, it's okay. I've got a dead rabbit. In Amnesia, you'll be going everywhere. The library, the machine room, the prison, the sewers, the Morge Simpson. And like I've said already, there are puzzles too, which I not only really enjoyed figuring out, but also make a great bookend to the running and hiding and item finding you'll usually do beforehand. And I love it when my flow is even and stable. Amnesia may be 13 years old now, but it has held up super well. Everything it does complements each other and blends into a gourmet sorbet, and I can totally see why at the time it went viral, and why for my YouTube feed back in the day, it kickstarted a new dawn of horror horror game playthroughs. It also has raw meat, but Agrippa doesn't need that. Well, that was the start of the video, wasn't it? Oh look, it's Cash Banuka. That was alright, wasn't it? Oh look, it's Cash Banuka 2. That was great, wasn't it? Oh look, it's Cash Banuka Wrapped. Oh look, it's Cash Teat Rabies. But no matter how much people loved Crash 1, when Crash 2 came out and refined and improved basically everything, it was clear where the original should have been from the very beginning, and it looks kind of bad now. Because at the time, nobody knew any better. This type of game was a new thing in 1996, so people didn't 100% know how good this new gaming formula could possibly get until they experienced it for themselves. I mean, Jesus, people played Pong in 1972 and they thought that video games had peaked. That's it, guys, we're not getting any better than this. Pack up and go home. Wait, it's in color now? And nowadays, we all know the original Crash trilogy is classic because they remade them and they still hold up brilliantly today. The same can even be said about Crash's first attempt of a kart racer. Fantastic then, and fantastic as a remake even now. We also know these games are classics because its own series they came from really started pushing their luck when everyone started bitching about it. Now, where have I heard that before? Did someone call me? There was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This is where, in my opinion, the legend was truly born. Pro Skater 2 put the dev team Neversoft on the map because at this point, they gave up on realism and stopped making you feel like you were skateboarding on a recycling bin. This was the beginning of creating your own skater, and you could call him Criff, who lives in the sink and is 5 years old. He also looks like this, but don't laugh at him. Criff is shy. This was where you could begin to use stat points that you earned in the campaign to max out all of your abilities and your balance sensitivity. This was where you could edit and customize your tricks. You could create and edit your own bloody parks. And how about the levels? There were more of them, they had a dump load more to do and far more secrets to see with environmental pieces to completely destroy with your sickness. They came with cash prizes that you could spend in the shop for more customization options. You could be hit by train, but more importantly, there were more tricks, which not only meant crazier scores, but way more ways to link them together with the ability to manual on the street and wall ride across vertical surfaces. And then there were the cheats. Oh lord, the cheats. You can believe you can fly, you can become a big boy, you can escape the game, you can go on the Atkins diet, but easily the coolest part, you could be Spider-Man.
Look out! Here comes
Spider-Man. Wait, what? The judges only gave me 99.9? What do you mean 99.9? Did you see what I just did? That's not enough for a full score? At least give me a chicken nugget. Now don't get me wrong, I'm still not a fan of the 2-minute time limit for the career mode. You could argue that it's arcadey and challenging, but I argue it's restrictive, stressful, and doesn't let you fully take in or explore the brilliant level design. And if you just so happen to agree with me on that, then don't worry, because the Tony Hawk series eventually did get rid of it. They kept on being made, they kept on improving, nobody could stop them, not even my mum. And she could stop a freight train by frowning at it. Okay, then hopefully I can feel a bit better after I revisit a game I replayed countless times as a kid, Monsters Inc. Scare Island on the PS2. This is, in fact, the same game as the PS1 Monsters Inc. game that I know a load of people played when they were younger. I think it was called Scream Team. But to be honest, I never played that one, and I didn't even know it had a PS1 version until I got a demo disc for it long after I finished the PS2 version. It's the same game essentially, it just looks better and runs smoother, but better graphics or not, God help me, it doesn't do much for Scare Island. Waternoose looks like a raisin, and Sully here has more teeth than face. Onto the training mode then, and who do I pick? Well, based entirely on the way that they walk, I'm not a fan of Sully's extending stretchy neck, so I guess I'm gonna have to pick Mike. Booga! I think I made the wrong choice. I wonder what happens if you pick Sully.
Hey, I'm the monster!
Oh, you are? I didn't notice. This training mode sucks, no other word for it. I get that it's a tutorial to ease younger players into the game, but this goes on for way too long since each room of the stage goes over every individual move you have. There's a room for jumping and a separate room for double jumping. That's how redundant this whole thing is. And in every single room, you get to listen to Roz talk at you, and after a while, she starts to sound like a massive sneeze. So we get out of the training mode and into the actual stages, which are free roaming 3D environments with sub-areas you need to unlock and edges you can't cross. The game itself is kind of like a Mario 64 collectathon mixed with Ape Escape, but for babies. You run and jump around, attack enemies, and collect this stuff called ooze in order to fill up a meter. After you've filled it up enough, you then go on the hunt to catch these robot children. Thank the Lord we're not hunting real children. And if they're the same color as the meter point that you filled up to with the ooze, you can adequately scare them. Scare enough of them, and you clear the level. Well done. Unlike Ape Escape though, where searching for these escaping targets and catching them is fast-paced, reaction-heavy, there's usually platforming or puzzle solving to get around, and it takes takes one swipe to grab them afterwards as a nice payoff, Monsters Inc. instead just places the kids everywhere in not very difficult locations and then forces you into a button-mashing scaring game every single time you find one of these things. And the higher color level they are, the more button mashing you have to do. This gets immensely tiring insanely quickly. There's nothing fun about this, and not rewarding even slightly for finding these things in the first place, because you don't just get to pat yourself on the back and move on like in Ape Escape. To be fair though, it is funny once or twice to see some of the final scaring animations. In fact, while we're here, was I the only person in the world that thought it was completely backwards in the movie that Sully was considered the scary one and Mike was considered the funny one? This thing is freakish. Why aren't kids scared of him? Look at him. The worst that Sully can do in this game is... Okay, fair enough, he's pretty scary. The facial animations aren't the only things I'm not too sure about on the production value though. It's all over the place throughout the game. Check out these water physics. It looks like they're trying to escape the game. Sometimes the models look absolutely fine, and sometimes they make me want to off myself. And they also reuse the same victory animations for the monsters when they grab the main medal collectibles of the game, which is fine, but these animations are in sync with one specific line of dialogue, and the characters say different lines for different medals. So where this is perfectly fine,
Not bad for a guy with one eye.
this just looks dumb.
Who's the monster?
I'm sorry, how does it go?
Who's the monster?
For a nice bit of replayability, as you go through the game, you unlock more tools to use to access areas you couldn't get to before, and if you quit a level, thankfully, the amount of ooze and other collectibles you got on the level is stored, making the dashes towards the final collectibles and children to scare much easier. And check this out, you even get to race Randall as a makeshift boss battle, and these bits are really fun, I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, you're more of a challenge than I thought.
Yeah? Well, you're more toothed than I thought. Part 1. Purple is gay. Right, so first off, no matter if you like Spyro or hate his guts, you cannot deny the iconic status of this box art. This color scheme, this art style, it's so PlayStation. It is perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Why is that there? The story of Spyro 1 is that the press have gone over to the Dragon Realms to interview the dragons about a wretched old boil known as Nasty Nork, and they decide to make fun of him on live TV.
Besides, he is ugly.
Got a real Kanye West over it. Now, how did Nasty hear that savage diss all the way from his house? Well, you have to remember, this was way back in the 90s, and everybody thought TVs worked like telephones. Don't forget, TVs had only been around for 70 years. Because of that, Nasty Nork casts a crystallizing spell on every dragon in the kingdom, except for Spyro, because... luckily for us though, Spyro is purple, and purple is a sick color. Everything purple kicks ass, which means Spyro runs off to kick ass, which means the game itself would inevitably kick ass. Except his voice, that doesn't really kick anything aside from my face.
What about Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Is it because of his color? Did they give him a chain-smoking teenager's voice because no one would think he was cool for being purple? That's outrageous. Some of the best things in life are purple, like bruises and ringworm.
Destiny? I just want to kick some...
Just toast those enemies and collect the treasure.
See, kids? Spyro is cool. He nearly said bottom. In Simon 1, you skip around luscious open environments unless the game stops you with the big shapes. Smashing all of your nan's china with your head, gliding from island to island, setting sheep on fire, occasionally fighting a boss, cracking open old men.
Run! Run!
And eventually run off to Nasty's lair to spit roast him. That Nasty Nork is toast. And honestly, that's kind of it. This is a fairly standard collectathon platformer from the time. Find as many gems, dragon eggs, and crystallized perverts as possible in order to unlock more hub worlds to find as many gems, dragon eggs, and crystallized perverts as possible. But Simon does have some tricks up his sleeve to stick out above your Banjo-Kazooies and your Super Martins. Let's-a go, yahoo! In case you didn't notice, Spyro is a dragon, and that means he has 5 unique things that make the game work entirely on their own. 1. Dangly skin. Simon not only jumps like every other knobhead, but by hitting jump again can use the loose parts of his back to glide long distances. This isn't only an extremely fun and liberating thing to do in every Spyro game, but allows the level design to focus not just on horizontal flat landscapes. Now you can have giant, sprawling, and tall levels based on verticality. You see that glimmering secret pile of treasure far out there? Well, if you get yourself high enough somewhere else in that level, and not from a weed, you may be able to reach it. It's not even a case of you finding the one single place to across that one single gap, turning the glide function into a situational invisible bridge either. You can glide off of any surface in any direction, which means the designers can hide more secrets in more creative places and gives you a breathtaking sense of freedom and adventure in each level, which can also be tense as hell. Whenever I'm about to make a risky looking glide, I always have this inner fear of, oh my god, I want that stuff over there, but is my glide going to be high enough to reach it? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out, so here I go. But once I'm gone, I'm committed, so I have to be confident. Oh god, I'm not gonna make it. 2. Bad breath. Instead of any clumsy jumps or precise melee attacks, Simon uses a wide, close-range fire breath attack to kill the enemy Norks or break open baskets for gems. Not only a really fun thing to do, but it looks cool, leaves little black ashes behind, and basically guarantees a hit if you're facing the general direction of the breath since it has such a wide girth. 3. The horn. Simon can use his horns for even more utility than the flame breath. It can break metal vases and baskets, attack basic Norks no problem, and gives you a speed boost which makes basic running around much more thrilling and quick. 4. Whirlwinds. If you jump into a whirlwind, the camera moves downwards and lets you look right up Spyro's. 5. Small thing that isn't a dragon and has nothing to do with dragons at all. That wispy little skinny lemon is Sparks the Dragonfly, and he is your health bar somehow. Yellow means you've got 4 hits left, blue is 3 hits left, green is 2 hits left, gone is 1 hit left, and then you keep yourself healthy by murdering smaller creatures that have no ways of fighting back, just like in real life. But honestly, I couldn't care less about health points. I just want Sparks to look yellow as often as possible, because blue and yellow look like spoiled cheese. I don't want Sparks to look ill, so I give him as many butterflies as possible. I will even go all the way back to the beginning of an empty level to top him up if I have to. No small animal is too far away for me to gut. But here's where things get interesting. On their own, the moves that Spyro can pull off are pretty sweet, but when you mix them together, whoa. You get big enemies that can only be flamed and armored enemies that can only be charged with your horns. Then you get enemies that are too big to charge but also armored from your flame, so a new weakness needs to be discovered. You get collectible dragon eggs that are stolen by thieves that are too quick to be flamed, so need to be charged towards all over the level while they go... This noise triggers my stomach acids. You get supercharge panels on the floor to make your charge get faster and faster the more time you spend on the panels, and the more time you spend on the panels, the further your jump and glide becomes. Yeah, most people hate it, but you're all morons. Sure, it takes me a few attempts to remember the routes and I die a few times every time I come back to it after a while, but the satisfaction of finding the correct starting point of a supercharge panel, jumping over to another island to keep gaining speed on another supercharge panel, and then making that one final gigantic glide over to the hardest to reach area of the whole game is ingenious and incredible to get right. I even like the little balance things going on with how you control Spyro, like flame breathing for example being an easier and safer attack to do against baskets and enemies, but the trade-off for that is that everything is slower and the gems that drop from them float up into the air and fall loose. But if you try and go for a risky charge attack as much as possible, you'll find it's not only faster, but then the gems will follow immediately after you once you break the basket or kill the enemy. I even love how you can charge different barrels towards the end of the game to attack the... And you get those one-off bonus levels for each world that turns the game into a free-flying time trial of destruction. These will be known from now on as speedways. This is the reason people still love the original Spyro PS1 series even until today. It's the fine mix of all of these moves to make the series a blast to play, with a couple of extra references to other games for good measure.
I always believed in you, Spyro.
You gotta believe.
The charm of the world around you is off the charts too, and there's so much detail put into the tiniest things. If you charge into a bull instead of flaming it, it'll get stuck in the ground by its horns. If you move up a steep hill, Simon's walk cycle changes. Set fire to cacti and watch them shake the ashes off. Watch enemies capture smaller creatures and then get too distracted celebrating to attack you. Seriously though, there are Norks everywhere, and nearly every single level gives you a different variant of them, which the game really didn't need to do. There's Norks with swords, Norks with clubs, Norks with flags, Norks with tasers, Norks with guns. Norks with guns. Easy does it, easy does it. Also, I'm British, which means you probably hate me, but it also means that I love saying the word Norks. The hills have Norks, the castles have Norks, the harbours have Norks, the fairies have Norks. You know what's sad as well? In the Reignited Trilogy remake, they got rid of the Norks with guns and replaced them with purple water pistols. Oh, come on now. What? You don't like seeing guns in your video games? What are you, a cuckwoke? And hey, I may really dislike Spyro's voice in this game, but the other dragons you rescue are another thing entirely.
Spyro, my friend, how about a hint on gliding?
I love all of these guys. They're only ever on screen for like 5 seconds each, but they're the most memorable part of the game for me.
Ever since you're a wee puff of smoke,
We've known, I forget.
They mostly serve as hints and tips when you find them, even though the hints are all horrible.
Big enemies like this Gnorc with the club cannot be charged, but a quick flame, that should defeat them.
Yes, I already killed that guy to rescue you. What are you talking about?
Did you know that you get your longest glides by pressing X at the very top of your jump?
How do you think I got here?
Flame won't harm metal, but charging with your horns, that should do the trick.
This is World 2. I've been doing this for the last 6 levels. Are you senile?
Be careful, Spyro. This boss has many tricks up his sleeve.
What does that mean? The best line in the entire game, though, easily goes to Cletus. My man Cletus. What does he say?
Spyro, it's great to see you, but I've got to go.
All right. Bye then. You know what all of the dragons' favorite thing is to say, though?
Thank you for releasing me.
I swear that most of these smelly lizards say this line on repeat, and by the end of the game, nearly every single one of them says it. You want to see how many I found?
Thank you for releasing me.
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 Thank you for releasing me. Thank you for releasing me. Thank you for releasing me. Thank you for releasing me.
Thank you for releasing me. Thank you for releasing me.
Thank you for releasing me.
But don't worry, not all of them say thank you. Some of them say thanks.
Thanks for releasing me.
Yeah, despite my accolades, I actually don't think Spyro 1 is that great, mainly because of how primitive and stripped back it feels, especially compared to the sequels, which isn't Spyro 1's fault, but I'm blaming him anyway. You know, it's weird. It always surprises me when I remember that the first Spyro came out in 1998. This wasn't an early PlayStation title, and yet I think it feels like one. There's just something missing. I can't explain it. There's no gimmicks, no major surprises. I mean, I do love simplicity and games that are to the point, but with cartoony collectathon Johnny John Spyro the Johnson, the simplicity holds it back for me. Especially when you compare it to the following games, Spyro 1 feels really plain, just like how Crash 1 feels compared to Crash 2. And by 1998, Crash 3 had already perfected the Crash formula, whereas Spyro was just getting his feet wet. And when Spyro gets his feet wet, he dies. The collectathon gameplay loop is pretty basic, and it gets a bit samey for me after World 2, with not much variety in what you actually do, aside from more dangerous glides and slightly different enemies. And for as much as I love the visual style, the presentation itself also gets a little bit too samey for me. Aside from that hole, these things can get royally shitted off too. What are these things? Why do they look like that? No matter how many times I replay this game, I can never remember the names of levels or tell them apart by screenshots. They just don't leave much of a lasting impact on me. I don't think there's anything entertaining or that endearing about the characters and story. Spyro's voice,
I think I smell a barbecue.
makes me want to shit down a chimney. The sound effects feel really wet and sloppy without much impact or crunch. The charge controls are pretty damn loose and slippery. Glide can sometimes feel really heavy that doesn't always make its target even when you feel like it should. And then there's all the little things that add up over the course of the game. You hit these and then jump over them to get the gems. Why? It's awkward. If you miss it, you just do it again. These things you breathe fire on over and over again until they pop. Pointless. Then you have the soundtrack, composed by one of my favorite drummers of all time, Stuart Copeland. It's a soundtrack beloved by basically everyone. And I think it's... Yes, it's that Stuart Copeland, the drummer from the all-time classic rock band, The Policeman. And look, I don't hate the music, it's good music, but I don't get the undying love for this game's soundtrack in particular. I think it's way too spacious and meandering for the kind of game that this is. And if you tied a rope around my neck and asked me to match which songs go with what levels or else you'll hang me, I'd say, I don't know. But then I'd say that anyway because I don't mind this. Don't get me wrong though, when the visuals and music come together into a gourmet, creamy cereal, it's downright incredible. My go-to example being Dark Hollow in World 1. But as a whole, I just don't dig the soundtrack that much. It's well constructed, it's well performed, and there are some great tracks here. I just can't remember most of it, and I don't think it matches the gameplay that well. And these bosses, these absolute garbage fire F-tier bosses, F for Fairy Stinky. These are the worst parts of the game for me. They aren't bosses, they're regular levels that are really small with slightly stronger enemies that I wouldn't let near a school. First boss, Toasty. He's a scarecrow that is actually a sheep on stilts. Hit him 3 times, he does nothing. These regular dog enemies are more dangerous than him. Second boss, Dr. Shemp. Hit his back after jumping over like 2 attacks. Third boss, Blowhard. More like blow chunks. Fourth boss, Metalhead. Charge into metal poles that aren't electrified. You win. Boss 5, Jacques. Do some platforming and then question why the hell he has a regular French name. Final boss, Nasty Nork, is sadly just as easy to kill as any other regular Nork. You chase him, he does nothing, you win. When the edge of the walkway is more threatening than the final boss, you know you've ballsed it. At least you got a pretty sweet reward for 100% in the game though. You get access to Nasty's loot. The only actual free-flying level where you just explore everywhere, blow up everything, and steal all of his treasure. Thanks for the stimulus check, Nasty breasts. Then the credits roll. Ah, nostalgia. You know, even though this isn't my favorite Spyro game and I do have problems with it, I do like it a lot still to this day. I enjoy this game, and every time I reach this credit sequence and hear this music and watch all the low poly flyby level camera stuff going on, it lets me know that I made a good choice in picking up this game to replay it again. No sheep were harmed during the creation of this game. Spyro 1 is a classic, no doubt. But at the end of the day, even though I've got a lot of nostalgia for it, this is not the game that I replay whenever I feel like a bit of him. It's better than Crash 1 for a first attempt, but it still feels like a first attempt. In the distant past on this channel, I've taken a look at 3 Pixar games, and I thought they were all pretty great. A Bug's Life on PS1, despite what critics that probably don't wash say, I think is a great time. A stage-by-stage collectathon and enemy hunting game with decent visuals, decent controls, and incredible music. Even better, at the end of the game, you get to chase down and stop Kevin Spacey from touching everyone inappropriately. Next up, we have Barbie Explorer. Action as never before. Oh, wow. Does that mean that Barbie might bend her elbows? And would you look at that, she's actually doing more than using her joints. Check out this epic minecart video sequence. This is some dangerous stuff here. Barbie is looking like she's loving it. She looks pretty excited about death. So in this game, Barbie has taken it upon herself to find the missing pieces of a mystic mirror. Why? No clue. I thought she'd be too worried about breaking a nail. But if anything, I'm a little bit confused as to why we're in the middle of a story all about a mystical power that will reawaken and most definitely end humanity if we find all the pieces of an ancient artifact. This is a Barbie game, right? Hang on, sunshine. What do we have here? VR training? What, like in Metal Gear Solid? Watch out, world. Solid Barbara's coming through. Now, in virtual reality, you can do all sorts of things with Barbie, like teleport onto swinging vines, walk like an old lady with rickets, not jump onto climbable walls because God forbid we put any actual fun into our platformer, and then we get absolutely decked in the face by opening doors. What's my name this time? KFC. Because by the looks of it, Barbie could do with one. She looks like if she pushes too hard, she'll snap her legs like a stick. So when we get into the actual game, I'm absolutely shocked to find out that it isn't very good. To begin with, this basically feels like the original Tomb Raider. You don't have tank controls, but everything else you do from climbing to jumping has an abysmal delay to it, which would be fine if the game itself was built around it and wasn't a fast-paced linear corridor platformer like Crash Bandicoot. You try playing a game like Crash where you don't only have Tomb Raider delay, but also a jump arc that you are so committed to once you do it, you basically already had kids with it by the time you land. I mean, it makes sense, everything here has a purpose, but it's easily the stiffest platformer I've ever played. Bubsy 3D isn't this stiff, and at least Bubsy has more directions he can move towards so that his body doesn't constantly clip on angled parts of the wall and make Barbie bring out her funeral fashion pack. I mean, what else do you want me to say? Barbie looks like she has a mustache, there's no sound effects at all while she's pulling rocks that weigh as much as a truck, she outright absorbs herself into the walls, and please tell me, where are you going, Barbie?
Egypt, Africa.
Egypt is in Africa. But then again, judging by your face, I don't think geography is your strong point. This is a game starring Barbie, all about Barbie, in an action-adventure game with awful controls. I mean, I really can't go into any more... But I loved having these things for the artwork. I mean, look at the Resident Evil 2 demo cover even. This was old promotional art made for the game before they even figured out who the main character would be. I have one of the original promotional posters of that in my office, actually. Like, that's an adorably cool bit of gaming history. Gotta be honest though, I'm not really sure about Agent Armstrong over here. What the hell am I looking at? Everything from his 2 belly buttons to him looking like he's stuck in a nappy makes me want to vomit. And why does he look like a balloon? Is he gonna fly away from the case?
He'll be the second Armstrong to go to the moon.
There wasn't only the cover art though, just look inside the sleeves of these things. Even though very tiny, these little screenshots and their rounded rectangular borders make them look like windows into the past when looking at them today. Talk about a different time. Look at this teaser image from Crash 2 featuring a screenshot from a part of the game that doesn't exist in the final version. I love looking at this stuff. It's like an alternate dimension. Like if geese had teeth, Sonic the Hedgehog had teeth, women had teeth, teeth had teeth. And when you actually got around to playing the games, it's so surreal to go back to demo editions of some of my favorites and even have singular levels in this permanent state of unfinished or with graphics and sound effects missing. For instance, in Crash 2's demo, most of the sound effects are missing. And whenever you try to slide jump, Crash just stops in his place after he lands and doesn't keep on running. In Spyro 1, the hub world music wasn't finished yet, so they just used the theme song from the main menu. And in Karashi/Intelligence Cube, there's no music at all. Or in A Bug's Life.
Just picking up grain here.
In Crash 3, Crash has no shadow, and the bonus stage music hasn't been included yet. In Medieval's trailer, you see footage from a dragon chase level that never made it into the final game. In Oddworld, all of the areas they don't want you going into are boarded up with demo-exclusive signs they rendered in-game, which they also do with 3D objects in Tombi and even with rock doors in Spyro. And speaking of Spyro, they didn't even finish the rescued dragon scenes for the playable levels they had, so just put the text on screen showing off what they said to you. All of these demos are like interactive concept art, you've gotta love it. What is happening to Silent Hill? You know what? I don't know. Looks weren't everything though. To top it off, the gameplay all of these demos gave you tasted just sweet enough where you could tell if you wanted the full thing or tell if a game will be a piece of feces, and the variety of games on the discs never left you feeling ripped off for paying for the magazine that it came with.
Let's be honest though. We're all cheap bastards, aren't we? Everyone loves a freebie. Little finger up there.
I also did do a video on Crash Bash, but that was back in 2012. That was even before YouTube was taken over by Susan Wetwinky. And because that video is terrible, I figured I'd drop myself into this video nice and gently and revisit Crash Bash to see if it really was the beginning of Crash's downfall after Naughty Dog dropped in to start making games about angry, hairy men.
So I guess it's time to conclude this year's Bandicoot month by acknowledging all of Crash's failures and getting them out of the way forever so that I never have to mention them again. These games I'll be talking about today have been heavily requested on my channel for years now, so sorry for the wait. I hope this is what you wanted.
Oh wow, check it out. It's Crash and Bash'em. I reviewed this game when I was a clean-shaven child.
The graphics as well are actually quite pleasant. The characters look good.
And I don't know what I was talking about. This was the first Crash game to be picked up by another random developer after Naughty Dog lost the rights of the character to Universal. And that does spell bad news at the offset, but at least the new devs, Eurocom, didn't try to poorly replicate the original formula. They instead tried to do a Mario Party, but with a gorilla with an anus for a face. Doesn't mean the game is great though, despite it doing its own thing, because, spoiler warning, I don't think it's that great.
Can we judge the game by the first world of adventure? No, we can't.
Ignore him. Now, even though Crashly Bashly is a party game, if you're all by yourself, you can indeed play a single-player adventure mode. Ooh, get you. And in adventure mode, I decided to pick Cortex because when he's running, his hands turn into a canary. But you can't call this an adventure without a story. I mean, what do you think this game is? Hiking? So the intro cutscene clues us in on what's going on. In the most basic of terms, Aku Aku and Uka Uka are having an argument, which almost leads to the worst boxing match of all time because none of them have any arms.
Prepare to fight! No, Uka Uka. The ancients would not allow it.
Ah, do you know what? Aku Aku is right. Yeah, we've never done that before at all. No, we don't fight because the ancients won't let them do it. No, not even once. Don't want to piss off those ancients. You know what's even weirder about this, though? The first line spoken in this cutscene is,
"How many times must you be told? You cannot defeat me."
So why does Uka Uka even try to fight Aku Aku after all of that? Why give him the ancients excuse? You both can't hurt each other. Aku Aku said so. Do you have memory loss, Uka Uka? Can Wood get Alzheimer's? Anyway, after this, Aku Aku has had enough and is about to bring the thunder.
This bickering can go on no longer.
Or he's gonna sound like a fed-up mother.
And logically, just like when you catch your own kids bickering, there's only one way to settle it. illegal cage fighting.
Yes, instead of settling this tiny squabble between themselves, these omnipotent and all-powerful masks decide to steal their supposed friends and pit them against each other until only one is left alive. And Crash is A-okay with it. What is he doing? And so, by winning a random set of battle party games and fighting boss levels at the end of each warp room, your chosen character must beat out the competition for the glory of their own mask that forced them into this horror, and this somehow proves how great they are and who wins this pissy little argument. Even stranger though is that since I picked Cortex, I'm fighting for the evil side, and yet the boss levels are all the same if you picked the hero side. Even Uka Uka says in the boss cutscenes,
"You must first meet an old friend."
So if they're old friends, why are we fighting the bosses? If the bosses are evil and friends with Uka Uka, including the final boss, doesn't that mean that the evil side already wins this argument by default? What's going on? Why are we fighting them? This story is a total disaster, no other words. It's as much of a mess as Tiny Tiger's character model. Cortex's hair though is on point. Look at it. It's so on point that it is a point. His hair is so sharp he could open an envelope with it. So Crash Bandicoot Bandicoot, like I mentioned earlier, is Mario Party for the entirety of the gameplay, but without the game board or dice to roll, and it's worse. You just win mini-games over and over again to progress, and where some of these games on their own are totally passable and fun in their own right, where Crash Bash fails is with the tedium of it all. This is one of the most repetitive games I've ever played. In fact, it's so repetitive that in the first warp room, you get 4-way Pong, polar bear fighting, pogo stick bouncing, and 3D brawling. And then in the second warp room, you get 4-way Pong, polar bear fighting, pogo stick bouncing, and 3D brawling. Foon! Sure, there's an additional game mechanic added in for the copies, but they're still copies. They feel exactly the same to play, and many of these minigames are copied up to 3 times throughout the adventure mode in different warp rooms, with nothing but a different coat of paint. And that's not all. Get this, in order to unlock the boss battles from each warp room, you need a certain amount of trophies. And no, your wife doesn't count. To get the trophy on one of these levels, you need to win the minigame in question not once, not twice, but 3 times. And this isn't a best out of 3 system or anything like that. The game keeps on going until anybody in the match wins 3 times, meaning that you could potentially replay the level 9 times in a row in order to win just 1 trophy. And that's assuming you even win on the 9th attempt. So you get the 4 trophies from Warp Room 1, unlock Boss 1, and then think to yourself, God damn, I can't wait to see something new. Warp Room 2 has exactly the same minigame styles you just did, aside from 1 extra level you haven't seen before, and you still need to win them all 3 times each. And then all of a sudden, Boss 2 won't let you in, because you need trophies, gems, and crystals to get inside. But where do you get the gems and crystals from, you bitch? Why? By going back through all the levels you've already replayed a million times over and replaying them again. But this time with an overly frustrating crutch, like randomly growing insta-kill mushrooms taking over the stage, or you beginning the stage with less health than everybody else. Yes, Engine, this is a great idea. When 2 giant missile-equipped mech suits can't take down a tiny bandicoot, just spin around and spit balls out of your mouth, I'll get them.
So yeah, the single-player adventure mode, aside from the decent bosses, it's pretty horrendous. And unfortunately, unless you own a first edition black labeled European version of Crash Bash, like I do, there's no code you can put in anywhere to unlock all of the multiplayer games straight away if you want to just jump into a match with a few friends. You have to go through the adventure mode and unlock everything in that tedious goddamn way. Otherwise, you're stuck with 4 minigames total with 4 different skins, and that is it.
Unless you have a copy of Spyro 3. Yes, stay with me. By holding L1 and R2 on the title screen for Spyro 3 and pressing square, you get access to a hidden Crash Bash demo. And then, if you type in a specific code on the title screen of the demo, you are then granted access to a cheat menu, where you can not only manipulate and change basically everything on the screen, but also have access to nearly every single level, fully multiplayer compatible and all. You are missing a few of the final minigames, and you only have 3 bosses to pick from, boss 3 of which apparently being Homer Simpson. But yes, essentially, nearly the entire Crash Bash game is hidden on a Spyro 3 disc, which I guess just goes to show you how little space Crash Bash's full disc was using in the first place. I can't believe they left this here accidentally. It's so damn cool. Look, you can even see the exact date and time that this beta build of the game was placed onto the Spyro 3 disc. How adorable. Okay, what I just said about the no effort thing, that was harsh. There is quite a bit of effort put into some of Crash Bash. The soundtrack, for instance, is one of Crash's best on the PS1. In fact, below Crash 2, I'd say it was the second best, so go and check it out. And when you do have all the mini-games unlocked, it is a decent distraction with friends, but getting to that point legitimately, which the majority of players of this game had to do, is hellish. Too many freeze frames I was able to grab from this game were absolutely horrifying, and a far cry from the detail you'd expect from the Crash universe, even on the PS1. And come on, man, Cortex's head here looks like a boiled egg on top of a frisbee.
I can see a good game here. But it's not in there.
Did you guys ever play Mickey Mania on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis? It was a 2D Mickey Mouse platformer from 1994, and 2 years later in 1996, it got an enhanced PlayStation version with much better music and prettier graphics. I never played the original, but this version in particular I remember borrowing from my cousin many times. Just this box art alone is making me revert back to a kid again. Super nostalgic. And speaking of the box, this game is so confident that it doesn't even list any features on the back of it, or mention that it's a remaster. It's that full of itself that it thinks it can sell you on the screenshots alone. And to be totally fair to it, yep, it deserves to sell itself on the still images and nothing else, because this is easily one of my favourite looking PS1 games of all time. The whole concept of the game is that you control modern Mickey Mouse travelling through a handful of his classic cartoon history to help out his past self, and then moving on to the next cartoon. And it's a concept they do not skimp out on. From the Steamboat Willie stage gradually changing from black and white to colour the further you get, to the Meese fighting in the background of moose hunters, it just fires on all cylinders from the second you start. The pixel art and animation is delightful, and the way it uses the PS1's power to mix 3D objects into the hand-drawn style looks really good as well. It's really like they're trying to bridge the gap between a traditional 2D animation and 3D video game and make it seem as though the game aspects are breaking through the cinema screen to give past Mickey shit for modern Mickey to help him out with, and it never feels gimmicky. This is PS1 2.5D done perfectly. The game is really simple to play too. All you do is run, jump, duck, and collect marbles to throw. I mean, God, you start noticing things even on the first stage, Steamboat Willie.
And it's nothing to be ashamed of.
The platforms are often never quite low enough for you to make jumps. You can't throw marbles one after each other that quickly, and even if you do manage to fire off two pretty quickly, the second hit usually doesn't count against an enemy, and things will attack you from off-screen all the time. However, all in all, it's pretty easy. But after that comes stage 2, the Mad Doctor. It begins immediately with bats that you don't have much time to react to if you don't already know they're coming. Then there's these skeletons that hurt you enough on their own, but also explode on death into multiple bones, a few of which can hurt you, and they blast off into random directions that are impossible to predict or work around based on what else the level is asking you to do, and an extremely fast minecart riding section that gives you barely enough time to react to saw blades like oops. And don't forget, you need to jump to attack flying enemies that are coming towards you, but if you do jump next to a rope, you'll automatically grab the rope and fly yourself all over the damn place, often back into other danger like oops. I lost all 3 lives that I had on stage 2, and I couldn't figure out how to earn any more. The game is really stingy with health too, and that's not a huge deal, but you can only take 4 hits, which massively becomes a problem when you get to stage 3, Moose Hunters, because look at all the shit falling from the sky here! All the while you need to dodge off-screen mooses. Following this is a chase sequence where there's a ton of obstacles, a turn that's slower than a recycling truck, and a jump like you're on bloody Saturn. And after that, it just keeps going. Stage 4, the Lonesome Ghosts, picky jump collision detection, a tiny field of vision in the dark, absolutely unavoidable damage, enemies you can't even kill even though these ghosts are already dead, projectiles flying at you from off screen, and it doesn't stop there. Stage 5, Mickey and the Beanstalk, where there are butterflies that are nearly impossible to hit, and dragonflies that take up half the damn screen and appear from nowhere, and if you get a game over, you begin the entire stage all over again, which means, for an example, on stage 2, if you lose all of your lives at the last boss level, you need to redo all of the 8 mini stages that make up that single stage all over again. Look at how I'm playing here. This overly cautious tippy tapping. It's not a fun way to play a tricky platformer. Plus, the game itself, in its box and everything, was not one of the cheaper ones to find on eBay, so save your munty. Right. Before we get into the game, can I just say one thing? I never watched this show, but the movie Buzz Lightyear: A Star Command, as far as a cheap spin-off goes, I really like. It's pretty funny, actually. And appropriately, the video game tie-in is also making me laugh, but not in the right way. We pick our first mission and get treated to a phone call, which I honestly zoned out from because this dude just kept saying the same words over and over again.
Getaway spot, getaway spot, getaway spot, getaway spot, getaway spot.
I think I'm going to the getaway spot. Oh look, it's a scene from the show. That's pretty cool, at least.
Lightyear could handle this one in hypersleep.
Ooh, Buzz.
So Star Command on the PS1 is a corridor running and gunning game, and when I say that, I mean that's all you do. You run, jump, and gun, with floaty as heck controls and one of the worst camera systems I've ever seen that can't be controlled. But there are a few other things you can do. You can collect hidden little green men for extra bonuses, you can pick up and collect credits to buy new upgrades and weapons throughout the level, and you can strafe left and right. But what is this? It's good to know that I'm now playing the video game adaptation of Disney on Ice. You've also got to fight bosses and arrest them. But I don't think there's much point arresting a dead body on fire. That's not all though, because what is this? Why, it's a time limit, because this is also a racing game too. Yes, in order to get to the boss of each level, you need to reach its
getaway spot
before the time runs out, or beat them to the hideout to knock off a portion of their health with this thing that looks like a blue toilet brush. And this is great whenever you find a shortcut portal or jet board, but terrible for looking around for collectibles and grabbing them. Not just the aliens, but the credits too, which you need to grab to buy the weapons you need to even damage the boss in the first place when you get there. And after all of this, the bosses usually amount to... Absolutely brilliant. These two styles of gameplay are at odds with each other constantly in Star Command. You need to find the hidden things and collect enough credits to get extra medals in order to progress, but you also need to do that while not running out of time, meaning potentially rushing by basically everything, and you haven't really got a chance to let the game itself or its level design sink in, so if you have to retry it, you don't really remember where the best places to go are, where the best weapons are, where the collectibles are. It's just really messy. It's not awful, but I wouldn't exactly describe it as fun, and it's not that difficult, more just irritating. Not helped at all by the total lack of camera control and no weapon lock-on. Even when the levels do get a little bit more interesting, like on Planet Flambe, it doesn't give you breathing room to search around it or discover more interesting platforming or secrets, because otherwise you're game over from being too far behind. Check out level 3 here, where I'm supposed to hit all of these bombs or else they'll detonate and destroy the whole level, but I'm given a jet board really early on because of how fast this joker is. So I ended up missing one of the bombs in the level as I was heading for a shortcut which I thought I was supposed to do, but nah, because I missed that bomb which was on the corner of the screen, game over. All because Star Command can't make up its mind on what kind of game it wants to be. And when I finally did perform everything correct on this level, I accidentally activated a power-up for Booster, who looks like a giant beat, to come down and smash everything, causing the bad guy to get ahead of me, which means that the level itself never pauses, which means if my countdown clock was running, I might have lost the level right there, completely out of my control. Why does Buzz have a gun anyway? He uses a laser in the movie, and he has one on his arm. Where is it here? And why does he sound like Joe Swanson?
Stop right there, Creepazoid.
What have we got next then? Shrek Super Pup, another Shrek game? No, I'm gone. I'm done. I'm living in here now.
I mean, the game doesn't look too bad so far. There's nice FMV at least, and...
Oh! A beautiful princess.
I know beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that doesn't apply if your head is the size of Saturn.
Shrek just wants to be left alone.
And the best way to do that is by getting together in a big gang in order to play multiple fecal minigames to win bugs and then trade them with opponents in order to match high-numbered bugs together and then do nothing with all of the bugs. Did that work? Do you feel alone yet?
Please put your hands together for Shrek.
Now what?
Shrek Super Party, if you couldn't tell, is Mario Party, but with a very important twist that makes it stand out. It's bad. You move around a board, activate minigames and battles, and make events happen by landing on certain spaces.
Look out, Shrek!
Oh no, I'm about to die. The only issue with all of this, though, is... Okay, that's a lie, there's thousands of issues, but one of the many is that you get a choice to pick a totally different board from everyone else, for starters. So that feeling of competition as you pass each other and interact on the same board is non-existent. Like Pinocchio's soul.
It's time for an epic battle.
Oh man, I'm so excited!
Donkey rolls a 9, but then only moves like one space and then has to give all his bugs away. Lord Farquaad is eating his own face. There's absolutely no surprise elements because every space and what's on them is shown to you before you make the roll. The dragon looks like it was made from cardboard boxes. There's no sabotages you can perform or different directions you can travel for strategy when landing on certain places. Donkey's jaw is dislocated, and the entire game ends after an hour of stupid boredom with nothing but epoxy 6-second cutscene. Shrek, you may have Mario's weight, but you'll never have his spirit. Or his tash, so give it up. Oh golly gee, drink my wee, I got a high score! What's my name? Elm.
Uh-oh, Shrek, off to the evil bog.
Oh no! Oh D.
Might as well move on to the next thing. Imscarid. In this game, you walk around a world that's absolutely terrifying because it looks all old graphics. You look for keys to open doors and eventually notice that some very strange things are happening, and you aren't sure why that is or what's going on until you notice this broken meringue. Then you pick up a heart on the floor that somehow looks like that, and then suddenly...
I think my heart just stopped.
After that first major jump though, the game actually crashes back to your desktop, and only then does it start becoming something truly special. You see, every time you open the actual application and then get to a certain point in the game, it will eventually close itself, and then you'll find the entity within the game has actually added files to your computer and is communicating with you outside the game. Images, text files... That's it. And that would already be a little bit freaky, but then within the text files and images are even more information about the story of the game and even solutions to puzzles, which then after you load the game back up again, will then start in a totally different location, only if you've read all of this stuff beforehand, and then it will ask you to solve the puzzle regarding the text file that you just opened. By the way, that entity is called Whiteface, and I suppose after all these years, we had it coming. I don't think that I'm scared as a video game is anything that horrifying, but the way it talks to you outside of itself and essentially hijacks your PC with a virus that needs to be worked with in order to keep it going makes it one of the coolest damn games I think I've ever played. And the chasing around gameplay is just a bonus as you try and avoid this lad telling you why the best movie ever made is White Chicks. As an entire experience, if the creator wanted to make a game that actually felt haunted and that you personally shouldn't keep playing or else Benjamin will come after you, then it's as close to perfect as it needs to be. You aren't reading a ghost story about a game, you are the ghost story. You are living it as you play it. And I'm not easily spooked, but this game gave me the biggest scare of all the games in this video by having the game crash and actually have Google Chrome already open looking at a web page of Whiteface. After a few minutes of jump scares, crashing, closing and reopening, making files on your desktop, shitting in your shoes, opening web browsers and screaming at you, starting up by itself and Whiteface showing you his latest minstrel show, the ghost eventually makes you hang yourself, the game crashes, and it never starts up again. We did it, everyone. We killed PC gaming. In conclusion, I'm Scared is a game about a man with heavy shoes.
Oh, yeah, Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. I forgot to film anything funny.
Okay, well, terrifying box art aside, could this really be any worse than Disney Sports Skateboarding? It did come out a year afterwards, so did they learn anything? Oh, what's this? Our good friends at Toys for Bob made a return? Wasn't expecting that at all. And Tony Hawk's Raspberry Jam wasn't too bad, so maybe this one is actually good. Okay, wait a sec, hang on. Did I put a Disney game in here or Tony Hawk Jr.? Where are the cartoons? I mean, yeah, this kid kinda looks like Mickey Mouse, but this isn't Disney at all. So apparently when this game was being made, Disney themselves must have run a competition to get one real-life boy and one real-life girl to star as themselves in this game, and the winners of these skating tournaments were the deciding factor. That's pretty cool, I've got to be honest. But why the hell would I want to play as them when I can play as a wide gaping mouth Woody? Or how about Dead-Eye Buzz, Ripped Simba, Inside Out Teeth Tarzan, or Drunk Pumbaa? What's my name this time? That's easy. Meat. And this game is good. Actually, this game is really damn good. I'm stunned. A game with this cover actually may be one of the best skating games I've ever played that isn't from Tony Hawk, and Woody Bailing looks hilarious. If you want to play an explorative, mission-based collectathon skating game, but don't want Tony Hawk and want to skate around as a goddamn elephant, you play this. It even caters to newcomers and young people with a special kid mode that gives you automatic grinds and special tricks just for pressing singular buttons. And then the pro mode is exactly like regular Tony Hawk with all the familiar button layouts and direction input styles to make tricks happen. And I must stress for a second, if you make a skating game, copying Tony Hawk controls entirely is not a requirement and doesn't automatically make your game good. If you've got an original take, I'm all for it. But the thing is, the Tony Hawk control style is so simple to grasp and makes perfect sense for veterans or beginners. Whereas going too out of the box with something like Thrasher's Skate and Destroy with separate trick buttons and a push button that's also a grind button is so unintuitive, it's almost like you playing a driving game that swaps the left and right steer controls around. It's the same reason why most first-person shooters nowadays use triggers to aim and fire and the right stick to move the camera. Tony Hawk games just found the perfect
perfect style of control for this kind of skating game, and improving upon it isn't really possible if you ask me. Hence, Toys for Bob had the very wise idea to license and then utilize the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 engine to make this game. The point is, in this game, you get to skate with your favorite Disney character, Birdie! The gameplay here is awesome. You complete missions by exploring the massive levels and talking to all the characters who need help, while collecting objects hidden all around the area to get you better accustomed to the design of the game. As you finish missions, you unlock more skaters from each Disney movie series, more levels from each Disney movie series, and more customization options for your very own creator skater, where you can end up making some nightmare creations. With my overhanging tummy and fat ankles squeezed into tiny boots, I look just like Honey Boo Boo. Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure is fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you take a Tony Hawk game, remove the men being sick in toilets, and then slap Buzz Lightyear on it, you get this game.
Now this is where shit starts getting good. Yes, you lads, it's Spyro 2. He's back, and I'm back. Look alive, everyone, it's Simon 2, Ripped My Ropes. Or as I personally know it, Simon 2, Great. A garden. To be honest, I prefer the European name of Gateway to Glimmer against Ripto's Rage, but I will admit it is strange. Glimmer is just the first level of the game. You're never looking for a gateway to it. That'd be like if this was called Crash Bandicoot Sand. Straight away, we've got much better cutscenes with actual story in them, and boom, bang, bing, we've got new characters who are better than anything we saw in Spyro 1. You've got the Professor, who's a bastard mole, got Alora, who's a fawn, you dork, and Hunter the Cheetah, who always looks like he wipes with his fingers. Even Simon's voice is improved.
Is this rain ever gonna stop? I've forgotten what the sun looks like.
If you don't know, that is the voice of Tom Kenny, and if you don't know who that is, I'll give you a hint.
Now they've set up force fields to separate us. If you can find diodes, you can use them to turn off the force fields.
One thing though, why, only in the cutscenes, does it sound like the voice actors are spitting into the mics?
That's exactly the point. A dragon is our only chance of stopping Ripto.
Oh, there's also the new baddie, Ripto, who is very small and angry, and that's basically all there is to him. I never really understood the love for him as a villain, I'm sorry. And these three bozos accidentally summoned him to their world, so intercepted Spyro on the way to his holiday. Oh, sorry.
Vacation.
Yeah, your best friends in this game kidnap you and hold your holiday hostage until you fix their big messy. Thanks so much, you woman. Donkey. Spyro 2 as a game, though, is basically Spyro 1 again, but everything is better. Literally everything. It's like jumping from Crash 1 to Crash 2, or pre-vomit to post-vomit. There's just so many quality of life changes here, it's not even funny. The glide falls a little bit slower to make long jumps easier, the charge control's a lot tighter and lets you jump higher while charging to make rushing around levels twice as easy. Sparks the Dragonfly picks up gems from further away, he eats butterflies from burned animals much faster than Spyro 1, the camera moves around you a bit faster, the sound effects are guttier and have more punch to them, and on top of the updates to existing ideas, there's all of the new stuff added in too, like auto-saving, which was a massive deal, because back in those days, we didn't have it. Now you have a hover move to give you extra time to correct a glide, and give you a tad more height and distance at the end of your glide. Now, instead of getting extra lives from the life clam, while Sparks is at full health, you can stack him with multiple burned animals to eventually give you a life if you eat enough. Spyro can spit. Enemies now don't drop gems to collect and instead add to a defeated enemy tally that can help you unlock a temporary power-up specific to that level, giving you way more chances for supercharging alongside brand new powers like spring jumping, projectile super breath attacks, and temporary flight in the level. And speaking of levels, you now only need to collect one thing at the end of the stage to beat it, with optional missions dotted around each level awarding you orbs that can be used to unlock further levels, bosses, and secrets. And they can sometimes be centered around the platforming that Spyro does best, or something totally new and different like hockey matches against this freak, various puzzles hidden around the stage, or blowing up a load of UFOs piloted by and to top it all off, when you collect everything, you get a little dote! The Speedway stages return and are exactly the same as previously. Okay, that wasn't new, I'm sorry, I don't know why I mentioned it. But now after you beat the main time travel challenge, you can then freely explore the Speedway level without a time limit to find secret hidden characters to talk to that then give you more unique orb missions that change up the gameplay even more. And then you can end your day by being a flag-burning, filthy hippie. Yeah, down with vegetables. Oh yeah, there's also way more cutscenes now too. Some for entertaining story bits, and others for whenever you enter and exit a new level, just to give them that extra dash of personality and depth to them. I like them. You see what the problems are in the level before you get there, help them out, then you fix the problem and see what happens after you leave the level. What's cool though is that every level has inhabitants to talk to now, and they're nearly all fully voice acted. The only other thing you could interact with in Simon 1 was the balloonist, and sorry man, not only did you not actually speak, but you were only ever good for being a stepladder. Even the fairy checkpoint talks to you now. She's called Zoe, and she likes to pitch shift her voice at random.
That zap means that if you get into trouble, I'll return you to this place.
Each time you defeat an enemy, it will release a spirit particle.
But then there's another character introduced in this game that would go on to become a Spyro staple.
Hello there, Spyro. Would you like to learn to swim underwater? I suppose I could teach you for, a small fee?
Moneybags' a round bell end seems to exist everywhere all at once on every level and only lives for one thing: locking things away from you and stealing your gems in order to unlock them for you. That's all he is. He's a fat, greedy barrier that has no conscience, no dignity, and only cares about money. He is a leech, a stain. Oh, what's that? You want to sell me a trip on a submarine to get by a load of robot sharks? Pfft, I don't need any of that. You're scamming me. Look, see, I don't need to... Okay, fair enough. Oh, look at you there, Moneybags. Are you a little cold from the snow? Oh no, wait, it's just your soul! My favourite thing to do with him is actually use a double jump glitch in level 1 to not only completely ignore him and his stupid bridge, but also use the same glitch to get on top of a ledge that I'd also need to pay him later on in the game to learn how to climb, and then finish off the rest of the level without paying him a cent, meaning that I can then afford his swimming lessons right after level 1 without needing to go into another level first to try and save up enough. This has been a money-saving tip with Daddy Caddy. Next week, we'll find out how to stop yourself from spending your own money by learning how to keep pennies in your ass. The levels are bigger and give you way more stuff to do and leave a longer lasting impression, but they aren't so big as to make you go, oh no, I can't eat that. And the music is miles better as well. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it sucks. Milkshake through a big straw. It's way more creative, zesty, multi-instrumental, and more percussive. There's even vocals on some of the tracks, my favourites being the one that sounds like a meditating Mr. Bean. Then there's all the little monk dudes with their mouths that look like urinals and they go... If you ask me though, the award for best line in the game easily goes to...
Even though I'm a vegetarian, I think you should kill that Yeti.
He's so hardcore about killing an animal that he even goes off script.
Kill!
Oh, by the way, I have a theory about this game that I don't think anybody has ever brought forward before. Hunter is Ripto.
And no, I don't mean just because of their exact same size. Other characters in the game are all like,
can you help me tie my shoelaces?
And then you help them and they reward you. But Hunter... He deliberately bricks himself in igloos and hides orbs from you until you nearly kill yourself on a jet ski parachute. He won't give you 2 orbs that you desperately need to save the world unless you run around in a sub-zero cave catching crystals to amuse him. He won't give you the items that you need to defeat the man that he summoned himself until you jump on his captured manta ray and follow a seahorse through a bubble of fart. He plays dumb, but he's not dumb. He has like half of the orbs you already need in his pockets and just doesn't give them to you because Lamau. And have you ever noticed how you never see them together on the same screen? He's the bad guy here. He is Ripto. I also love the way that so many characters have that low poly PS1 over-exaggerated head and mouth shape too. They all look like talking drum cymbals. There's even this one level where you run around and find all of the bones of a skeleton to put him back together. How beautiful is that?
It's so good to see my friend looking healthy again.
Does he? Oh no, what does that mean? What's gonna happen? Yes, I had to sit through the whole thing, so you had to as well. Now, let's move on to...
I think he wants to dance for you.
Oh, no. My favourite part of the whole game, though, is when you get to World 2, Autumn Plains, and find this level called Zeph, where there are all these slugs on the ground in the middle of a civil war with these birds from the sky, and you help out the slugs by destroying the birds' ammunitions building.
Wow! What an explosion!
My disc is a little scratched. But then immediately after that is another level called Breezy Windpipe, where you go to the homeland of the birds in that same war, and then you help them get their airship running again so they're able to counterattack, ensuring that the war can rage on for many years to come. I love Zephyr anyway, though, because there are these baby birds that spit ammunition from mother birds, dropping it from the sky into their mouths, and when they don't have anything, they're like, "Mummy, Mummy, I'm hungry, feed me, Mummy." Oh, you're hungry, are you? Yeah, well, I've got your mummy right here, you little scab. Then there's a bit where there's a slug named Romeo and a bird named Juliet in a tragic star-crossed love on the battlefield, and you need to reunite them in this extremely fun magic seed platforming puzzle where different platforms grow in different soil, and when you want the seed back, the soil clenches like a bumhole, and after solving the puzzle, Juliet sounds like this.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Oh, there's Romeo.
There's just so many fantastic moments here. How about that mission where you have to get the professor's pencil back by trading an egg with a nest that spits out a seed to go into a plant pot that spits out a rubber duck that goes with a duck family to give you a turnip, okay, which then needs to go into a cauldron which spits out a coin that goes into a water fountain that gives you a very soggy pencil. It's so good, man. And how about the secret agent that sounds like, "I'm a secret agent." And when he's looking around to make sure you aren't following him, he does... He does that. That is how I'm looking around for things for the rest of my life. And the robots in Metropolis, they're adorable. Listen to them.
These elevators need serious work, see?
Even the bosses are an improvement. There's only 3 this time, but it doesn't matter because they all make up for the wet jokes that were in Spyro 1. They actually have attacks. They're fun fights, and in Gulp's case, even a little bit challenging. This is one of the better bosses in the whole Spyro series, actually. As great as Simon 2 is, though, I don't think it's perfect. In fact, there's a couple of major real low points for me. This is way too hot. And Pushing Up Roses can name like 50 of them, can't you?
Oh, Spyro.
Mission in Hurricos where you have to put lightning stones into power generators and then have to defeat the thieves that keep removing them and throwing them around the level. I mean, look, I'm very glad that I finally get some representation. But man, does this take forever. It isn't difficult, just immeasurably boring. This part here where you need to flame fish into this angry tiki's mouth, I can't stand this bit. You need to get 10 fish in his mouth, and any red fish reset the counter by like 1,000,000 fish. But by the time you see the yellow ones and decide that they're the ones to flame, it's too late to flame and you miss the mouth. Nowadays, I just cheat this bit by looking directly into the water in first-person mode to see what fish is coming. Well, is it cheating? I'm just using what the game gives me. I'm a good boy. I wash under my arms. And of course, there's another bit, which is possibly the most infamous part of the whole game. But before we get there, I just have to ask you a quick question. Trouble with the trolley. Okay, well actually, get ready for me to be a contrarian. This isn't hard. It's not easy, but it's really not that bad. I don't know what you're talking about, you whinging wets. In fact, while recording footage for this video, I finished the mission first time and then had to start the mission again and deliberately blow up in order to record the guy saying, "Trouble with the trolley, eh?" I mean, I don't know what to add. It just isn't that hard. And you know what else isn't? The turtle soup mission. Yeah, I said it. What's the big deal? Just keep looping around the pipes that they spawn from and then knock the turtles away if you come across them. They'll bounce all over the place and it gives you plenty of time to get them back in the water. What's the big deal, you baby bitch buggers? And the dinosaur egg hatching and eating the village people. Yeah, sure, I failed this one like once or twice, but once you get the pattern down, it's just like Simon Says, but if Simon only had 8 Simon noises for you to copy, and then Simon played the same Simons every time you Simon. And what about the bombing genie mission in Scorch? Not a big deal either. Did it on my first go. Here's a tip for you if you're struggling. Stop charging after him and stick to the wall so that you avoid most of the bombs bouncing off of them. You can't rush this bit, just go slowly, especially around the steps. You're gonna hate it if you try charging, trust me. Nah, mate, you wanna know what the worst mission of the game is?
Will you escort me past those Earth Shapers?
No! How about instead you suck my nads? I hate this so much. So you've got this motherless goat who has a potion to give Hunter because he wasted his month's rent on a new pair of concrete Nikes, and even though the goat is literally next door to where Hunter is, he momentarily forgets how to steer his own legs and ends up going on a cross-country marathon instead, deliberately walking right into all of the enemies changing his mind on where he's going all the time, getting in the way of you rushing around, and you can't get rid of the enemies. All you can do is knock them back temporarily. So getting them all out of the way of him in advance won't work. And the best thing, the 10 out of 10 game of the year best thing that happens is that if you finish this mission, Hunter then says, "Thanks for getting me out, Spyro, but you need to learn a new move to help me kill all of these monsters." So you carry on playing the game, learn the move, come back to the level to help out Hunter, and he couldn't wait 5 minutes to put his Adidas stones back on, meaning you've got to do the first part of the mission all over again? What's that? I already have this orb? I had no idea. But anyway, you finish the game and do everything. You get the orbs, grab the talismans, run away from this horrific face, and wonder who decided to bring back the bush munchers from Spyro 1 so you can place an Aztec curse on their family. You finally beat Ripto, and he just accepts his death. Oh, screw it, I can't win. Everybody celebrates, Hunter sits on Moneybag's face, and we finally go on a holiday in a lovely final cutscene. It isn't a cutscene, I got you. Dragon Shores is the final level that is literally just a fun fair that rewards you with tickets in order to unlock a theater to watch the game's cutscenes again. Internet. You play a game of water dunking, ride a roller coaster with a cannon to pop balloons, go to a duck shooting gallery, and never question why the biggest enemies from the first game are now welcoming you into a dark room inside a theme park with no one else in it. And you know what? I also really like the little love boat tunnel because it taught all the kids that played this game that you can love whoever you want. You can love the same gender. You can find love even if you're a smelly, hairy yeti. If that's not your style, you can be on your own. You can have a three-way, what? You can love children, excuse me? And after all of this, if you found every gem and every orb in the game, you unlock a door that grants you a permanent super breath attack, which is now obsolete because the game is already over. Screw off. Unless you do a Tiger Woods and cheat. Yeah, just quit the game and then start a new game that overwrites the completed save file, and voila, you now have super breath from the minute you start the game. How sick is that? And that's not all that you can cheat. Do you want to make Simon look like he has leprosy? Because you can do that. What? That's still not enough? Well, how about a big head mode? Yeah, you can do that too. Finally, a game character just for me. What? Is that still not enough? Well, how about this? You put Spyro in a trouser press. The end. Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't heard of this one. Yes, it has all led up to this, hasn't it? You all saw it coming. The single most viral game, not just of this video, but probably ever, which just so happened to be a horror game from 2014. It's the one with that meme in it. You know the one, that meme.
On 3, 1, 2...
FNAF came about from a guy who repurposed another game he made that was supposed to be for children but ended up being more suitable for adults, so then he flipped it on its head to make it a game that was supposed to be for adults but ended up being more suitable for children. One of the most unique and brilliant concepts ever. You are a security guard looking after a family fast food restaurant where the animatronic characters have gone wrong and they're out to rip off your breeds. Hello? You all know about it, so it's redundant me going into any more depth about it. But all I will say is this, without question, this is the scariest game in this video so far. Because this was the first thing I saw on the Steam page. Then it got even scarier when I started the game because while worrying about all of the animatronics tearing my head off, the screen itself was already tearing its own head off, so I had to quit and then force VSync on every FNAF game I downloaded. You are the security guard of a family fast food party restaurant, just like Chuck E. Cheese, but this one is called Freddy Fazbear's piece of shit. You're on the night shift from midnight to 6 AM for 5 nights straight, and luckily for you, during those exact hours, the animatronics have the zoomies, but with more teeth. And by the way, you can't move. All you can do to keep yourself safe is check the security cameras all around the restaurant to keep track of their positions, turn on side lights to see if Peter Rabbit is hanging out there, or shut the doors to stop them from coming in if he is. So why don't you just keep the doors closed forever? Because Freddy Fazbear is the chairman of Just Stop Oil and he doesn't want you wasting all your power. You need to balance and prioritize everything you do to manage your power consumption while keeping yourself alive. But if you don't use enough power to keep your eye on things, then your punishment is... Same applies if you use too much power as well, except the difference is that Frederick Bear flashes you. Here's the thing about this game though. I don't get it. Like, I don't dislike it, but this was it? Really? This is the game that took 2014 YouTube G-words off to the moon in views? I will admit, I love the concept and the simplicity of the execution, along with the designs of the animatronics themselves. They aren't horrifying, but they are very uncanny. At least they aren't a bag of crisps in a tie. But actually sitting down and playing FNAF honestly makes me feel like I'm working, which I know is what you're doing, but all it boils down to is quickly switching through the cameras, putting them down, checking the lights, closing or opening the doors if you need to, and then repeating the cycle. Am I missing anything here? I got into a cashier's trance playing this game because it's just you repeating the same menial, asinine task in a specific order and doing it slightly quicker on the next night. Five Nights at Freddy's is like working at a cash register until your boss yells at you in a fursuit. The jumps did startle me, I won't lie, but like that's all it is. I get startled every time my granddad falls out the window, but you just carry on with your day. It was a surprise. It's not terror to your absolute core. I feel absolutely no tension playing this. It's too repetitious and daydreamy for me to fully get into it. And all of this is for a paycheck of 120 smacking lips. Is your poor man really that desperate for money? He doesn't need to go through this. I want to help him. Five Nights at Freddy's security. My guy, why can't we move? Why do we come back for more after night one? Why can't we save power by turning this fan off? Why are there huge heavy metal doors in my room that stop all 4 members of E17 from getting in, but nothing similar built into their room to stop them from getting out? Why are the animatronics better security for the building than I am? Why don't we bring a torch with us? Why don't we have a candle? Yes, everyone, even though the start of the PS2 was a bit of an old egg for the Dragons, Simon seemed to flourish on the Game Boy Advance for multiple games before the next mainline console title, starting off with Simon Silly Old Ink. Look at it. It's Spyro, all right. He's running, he's jumping, he's flaming, he's charging, he's gliding, he's even hovering. It's just like classic Spyro, but now you can't see it. This is Season of Ice, with Digital Eclipse being the ones who made it, and before they even started making the game, they had to leap over one major obstacle. So if they were going to make a Simon game fit into a GBA,
the sacrifices must be made.
As you can see, it is pretty close to PS1 Simon, but with a shitload of cubes, so if you like cubes, you're gonna love this. With it being a Game Boy Advance game, you can't see much of the screen around you, there's tons of moments you'll get hit off screen and die instantly, it's difficult to tell sometimes what height things are for longer glides, but all things considered, they did a great job here. Is what I would be saying, but the problem is I don't really like Season of Ice. And no, it's not just because they brought Moneybags back. He doesn't even carry bags of cash anymore. He's on Visa. The controls are pretty tight. You can do most of the moves you're accustomed to. You collect gems and find hidden items. You save a main collectible to keep unlocking the rest of the game, this time being fairies. Getting extra lives is as simple as burning small animals, and it only takes 3, 7, or 40 of them. Even Sparks has his own levels again that feel right at home on the GBA. The core is here, but everything around it is all mushy and smelly. The charge is way too quick for the screen size, and if you ever use it for more than a few seconds, there's a 95% chance you're getting prune skin. And yes, you can use the left trigger to look around you, but that's only when you're standing dead still. So whenever you move into another part of the game, you will not see what's coming up unless you keep stopping, looking, and then moving a few steps forward. Oh, leave me alone, you rag! And in the cruelest twist of fate, if you die, you lose all of your progress in the level except for the gems and enemy defeats. There's no checkpoints at all, and with levels like these where everything looks the damn same, trying to re-find treasure chest keys that then stick into a treasure chest you have no clue where it was before, or re-finding all of the optional items to burn around the level for an extra fairy is utterly miserable. Made even worse when you were killed unfairly by an off-screen attack, or whenever Spyro gets hit in general and decides to slide backwards for like 5 hours until he falls right into his tomb. Oh, and even if you don't manage to die and complete objectives that involve exploring these copy-paste box factories, you get forcibly teleported to the middle of Dickville nowhere and then need to figure out how to get back to where you were before. I don't know what square I was at before, the game has no map to tell me. I can't do this all on my own, I'm not Biden. And while I'm whining about a 21-year-old game that nobody cares about, the bosses suck too. This is Grendor, the main villain. He appears twice, you fight him twice, he has a head, twice. Who is he? What's his breakage? Why should I care? Why does Grendor sound like a cough syrup? I don't know, but I can give him credit for giving us a break from all of the cubes in the game by throwing balls at us instead. There's also these speedway levels in the game that are visually impressive and try to stay as faithful to the PS1 speedways as possible, and I don't mind these, but they share the same problem with the rest of the game, being that they're all the same. The visuals are the same, the challenges are the same, the level designs are the same, the bosses are the same. This is Spyro Sameson of Same. game! And then, for the cherry on top of this cake of potato and wee, you can only unlock the second boss, that is, the final boss, by beating the game 100%. Thanks for the reward of letting me finish the game by having to treat it like Elon Musk's hairline and comb it back to front. And the ending of the game, no joke, is Grendor having his two-headed problem fixed, followed by, okay, I'm sorry. Bye! And then the final insult to close it all off is that you unlock a bonus Sparks game, which is just asteroids, but with this face. Merry Christmas. Next up is another viral hit from back in the day, SCP-087. If I'm not mistaken, the first ever video game based off of the fictional online wiki series, the SCP Foundation. And that's all very nice, but where the hell did I put this program on my desktop? Oh, yeah, there it is. I forgot that I keep it next to Funny Stinky Monkey Challenge game. SCP-087, according to the SCP wiki, is a seemingly endless staircase in pitch blackness in a small building in the middle of nowhere that might have someone or something living in it, and nobody ever comes out once they go down it. Sign me up! A simple premise and an extremely simple execution. You are a poor, unfortunate test subject being sent down the potentially bottomless darkness of SCP-087, and all you can do at the threat of gunpoint behind you is keep walking down and report what's happening, or, if possible, find out where the bottom is. And look, I know, stairs are only scary if you see Prince Andrew walking up them, but don't let the simplistic nature fool you. There is evil in these stairs, and it will mess with you throughout the entire game, throwing hallucinations at you that might be glitches in the game or actual danger, distracting you with sounds of crying and footsteps that aren't your own, and forcing you to keep on trucking forward as the floor numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, alright, I think I'm gonna go back up. Oh, wait a second. Oh dear, I can't. I'm on a Segway, I suppose, then I have no choice but to keep going down. But you can't stop me from having fun while doing it. Hang on, maybe I'm not on a Segway. This is a pogo stick. Why do I have the ability to jump this high when there's nothing to jump on? I don't know, gonna get on the railing? Yes! Yes! I can! Right, now I'm gonna slip myself down the center of the stairs and hit the bottom in seconds flat. Oh, wait. I had pie. So over the years, I've heard a few people complain about this game being boring, and I think I get why. It's extremely accurate to the source material, and it's injecting me directly with anxiety like nothing else. But after a while, nothing happens for so long that you start wondering what the point is. A game like this needs a delicate balance, because if you don't have that balance, then that can make the difference between a tan and a hate crime. Come on! I'm in the 50 floors now! I've gone down over 100 sets of stairs, and still nothing is going on. You know, I love going downstairs backwards. The best thing about this game, though, before it even starts, in the settings menu, for some reason in the control screen, there are 3 fire buttons. Why? All you do is walk and look around. I would love to go mental with a Glock down here. I think that would solve all our problems. Then they made another SCP-087 game, but this time it was in a corridor. Let's be real though, corridors are even less scary than stairs. You aren't going to wake up in the middle of the night and see a corridor creep into your room. SCP-173 is a sculpture that is completely unable to move while another living thing keeps eye contact with it. But if you so much as look away for a millisecond or even blink, it uses those small frames of darkness to move closer and closer to you until it can grab your neck and give you a great massage. 8 out of 10. Service was great. But now I'm dead. This creature is the main antagonist and subject behind the exceedingly popular SCP Containment Breach from 2012, made by the same person behind the stairwell and the corridor, and it went beyond viral even for the time. The success of it went so far past what the creator expected that they were able to keep updating it for years after it first came out, adding more items to it, more monsters chasing you around, more obstacles to get around, and now we're at a point where the original first draft of the game that initially went viral is still out there to download. But I want to see more stuff, Daddy. So off I go into the latest available version, and good lording, Christing, godding bloody, they have added so many more things to it that to me, the game is nearly unrecognizable aside from the intro sequence, the main menu, and a couple of rooms that I remember all too well from the early viral YouTube days. The story here is that my name is Bint, and you're a poor old sod being forced to go and clean SCP-173's chamber from all of the body liquid and the bottom liquid, and while you're in the room with 2 other people taking it in turns to blink, the door gets stuck, the lights go out, and Okay, so that was my name's fault. I am now Rum and Coke. So now this thing is out, and it's not only after you, but after everybody else in the facility, including security detail that were keeping locked up other various SCP monsters with their own unique quirks and methods of hating you or killing you, or both often at the same time. And to make it all even worse, today was pizza day. Ooh, ugly. I bet you eat pineapple, don't you? Oh, and by the way, you also have a blink meter. Yes, you have to blink in this game, so you need to manage your blink timing with the spacebar, or just forget about it and let it happen naturally. Containment Breach is very similar to Amnesia, but with way more aggressive monsters, even more obtuse solutions to some of the puzzles, and a much more open world design, to the point of you not knowing if you're heading in the right direction to get out or not until you realize you don't have the equipment you need yet. And I know that sounds annoying, but you're so distracted by every other thing in the building coming after you that it honestly doesn't matter. You'll be close to figuring out what you need to do. Where do I even begin? Okay, right. So there's 173, of course, the main threat that follows you more or less everywhere throughout the game. Then there's 106, the old man that materializes slowly from the floor, walks through walls, and then kidnaps you to a pocket dimension where the only way out is to solve his labyrinth. Then there's 096, the total opposite of 173, where if you look at him for too long, he will lose his shit and then hunt you down in seconds. There's 049, who wants to kill you with his touch and then zombify you as bait for the other security guards. There's a chair in the break room that I jumped on top of and got stuck on, and I couldn't get away from it until I quit the game and reset it. There's 012, which plays a song so intoxicatingly alluring that you can barely keep from walking away from it. There's 966, who are near invisible skinny coat hangers that wait for their moment to silently take you down. There's 939, who are pack-based predators that mimic the sounds of other humans in the game to lure you towards them and then attack you. And my favorite, 714, a green ring that makes you tired. Why is this here? But all of those that I mentioned aren't even the half of it.
What makes it worse for me is that this game makes me panic like nothing else.
Containment Breach, especially for a free game, is top tier for first-person horror. Give it a look whenever you can, but I will be honest here, I am convinced that on more than one occasion, 173 cheated me. I snapped my neck so many times to this nubby bastard with an egg box for a face, and most of the time, I don't think I did anything wrong. Look at this. Look at this. Come on, man, leave me alone. Why did that count?
This is Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour, possibly the worst title of a game I've ever seen, next to Golf Magazine Presents 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples. We've had platformers, we've had side-scrolling action, we've had point and clicks, and now we've got a kart racer. So maybe this one will stick out for the right reasons. Time to pick my language, I guess. But I'm French!
Aha, Bon Jovi.
Okay, well the game doesn't start all that good because Jesus is P-bit. What is going on with Chip and Dale down here? Dale looks like Nosferatu, and Chip has camel toe.
Well, hello there. Cricket's the name. Jiminy Cricket.
Okay, apparently Rattlesnake Dale wasn't scary enough for the kids because now we have this overly animated, withered old peanut with a full set of human teeth. He is absolutely disgusting. Hello there, Ricket's the name. I've got Rickets. Nice to meet you, Jiminy, and my name is... Sook. Luckily, that isn't because the game itself sucks. Far from it. It's the best I've played so far for this video. Well, most of the time. It's got everything you need for a kart racer. You've got power-ups, drifting with drift boosting, but specifically for hairpin turns. You can tap jump to make sudden sharp turns over and over again to keep your speed up. There's loads of shortcuts and alternate routes, and there's even some shortcuts that can only be activated once per lap by you needing to drive through all of these loops here and then aiming your car in the right place. Even the entire idea of the game itself is great. Its pre-title is Walt Disney World Quest for a reason, because all of the racetracks are based off of Disney World rides and attractions, with the races themselves throwing tons of nods and references to what you see in the parks and rides themselves. Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion, most of the big ones are all here, and it's really cool to race through them. Then to make it even better, after you've picked your Disney reject that nobody remembers like Otto Plugnut or Oliver Chickley III, every racetrack actually changes the vehicle you're driving to match the theme of the track that you're on. Whether you're using a train in Thunder Mountain or a rocket ship in Space Mountain, it's details like that I have a right fit over. And they even use some of the classic Disney World background music for some of these racetracks.
Grim ghosts come out to socialize. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
But then you run into those kinds of issues where for every good thing you find, there's unfortunately a catch. The track designs are interesting, but you'll often get clipped to the edges of walls. The shortcuts are plentiful, but sometimes you'll break the game and be told that you're going the wrong way when you're clearly following the arrows. And then there's stuff that outright confuses me. Why would they include all of these different vehicle types, but then not give zombie Grandpa Donald and all of his friends their own stats for costs and benefits to make the races more interesting and the racers stick out more? This game also came out after CTR and Diddy Kong Racing. Would it have killed them to have a drive-around hub world where you actually go and explore Disney World itself? And what about the slowdown? Biggest problem with this game, though, is that it's just not that special. It's functional, I like the tracks, but there's really not that much I can say about it. It's as standard as a kiddie kart racer goes. Not much depth to it whatsoever. Moving on to Shrek again, but this time on the GameCube, here is Shrek Super Slam. Oh no, Shrek, please don't slam me in my soup. The game begins with Donkey trying desperately to get his dragon-donkey hybrid offspring to sleep, which immediately makes me remember that they somehow did it, so I take the game out and throw it in the bin. After that, we see Shrek reading some bedtime stories to try getting the kids to sleep, and then cut to a story of Puss in Boots going to the bar and asking for some milk. You then discover that this is, in the simplest of terms, 3D Smash Brothers. You spend all of the matches mixing light and strong attacks together, grabbing and throwing opponents, picking up weapons and guarding into dodge rolls. And for a little difference to Smash Bros, you have to land successful hits to build up a Smash meter, which, when full, gives you a limited time to activate a unique Smash attack for each character. For each person you hit, you get a point, and if you get hit by someone else's Smash attack, you lose a point. Yes, believe it or not, this is actually a mechanic that PS All-Stars tried to do, but if you ask me, it did it worse. Move aside, Kratos, Gingerbread Man has the better game. Instead of collecting Smash attack orbs from beat up players and then losing your own orbs if you get beat up yourself, meaning that you could go back and forth for hours before anybody gets a single point, this game just lets you focus on landing hits and avoiding hits in a fast-paced race to see how many times you can build up your Smash meter and get a point by hitting the opponent. It's very simple, to the point, easy to pick up. The chaos that unfolds whenever you smash other players can be extremely enjoyable. There's tons of different challenges to complete to unlock new characters for the multiplayer, including Humpty Dumpty with the greatest idle animation of all time. And since there's no singular plot to go through with one narrative, the story mode has some genuinely entertaining scenarios for all the fights, just because they make them up as they go along. I played this game for hours when I was 11 on the PS2, and I can totally understand why. It's a decent game. But yeah, the story mode, unless you want to play something so easy that it makes you feel like a fetus, I wouldn't bother. Yeah, you know, the classic skateboarding series. Metal Gear Solid? After the original Metal Gear Solid on the PS1 blew everyone away, with Solid Snake being the only character in a video game able to pull off a 1080-degree quadruple pop shove it, here he is, back at it again on the PS2 and pulling off some steezy tricks all up in Arsenal Gear's rectum. Yes, that's what it's called. You are skating on a robot's poo muscle. This is the most incredible, yet most uncanny thing I've ever seen. Obviously, if you know MGS pretty well, this may appear to be a joke or a fan mod on top of an existing skating game. But no, this is an official Metal Gear Solid skating game with its own kick-ass hard rock remix of the theme song. How did this come to be, though? How do we go from a story-driven stealth action game involving social engineering, conspiracies, artificial intelligence, evolution, existentialism, censorship, and child exploitation, and end up with Solid Snake doing some gnarly grinds on top of a terrorist base? Well, that's because this is actually a bonus feature on the re-release of the original MGS2 known as Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, but only on the PS2 version. It's a great little pack. It comes with the main game, obviously, but also gives you a making-of DVD, more than 350 VR missions, the chance to replay the main story missions from Snake's perspective instead of Raiden's, and this bloody ridiculous skateboarding minigame built entirely on top of the engine for another Konami game that had just been released, Evolution Skateboarding. I guess they wanted to try advertising this game to me by slipping it into a Metal Gear Solid skin, but they overdid it if you ask me, because I've got absolutely no reason to play that one if I've already got this. Look at it, why would I ever want to play the other one? Oh boy, everyone, it's Simon 3! Yay, a donut! The final in the original classic trilogy made by Insomniac Games, and what a fitting developer, because as a kid, Spyro 3 made me into an Insomniac. 6-year-old me played this game until he ate his own hands off, true story. It's the best game of the original trilogy to me, without a doubt. I know people think it's the second one, but this game has a kangaroo doggy paddling in a lake. You're wrong. Is it because of nostalgia? Yes. Oh, sweet. You can pick your save file icon now? Banana. So to kick things off, even though I love Spyro 2's characters, I was never really fussed about Ripto or whatever his beef was. I didn't find him that funny, that entertaining, or that endearing, which made me not really care about what he was planning to do. But this time, I actually kind of cared about what was going on. You've got this haggard old minger called the Sorceress, who's so hefty you could send her out to the front line, and her apprentice, Bianca, who have decided to steal all of the baby dragon eggs that came from all of the adult male dragons. Very progressive, Spyro 3. Well done. And instead of stealing them and taking them back to their secret lair, they decide to just leave the eggs all over the damn place for anyone to find. Good plan, guys. I'm sure this won't rear up and ram into you.
Those eggs belong to us now, and I've hidden them in places you'll never find in 1,000 years.
The first egg is right next to where she was standing, and that means that this game's collectathon bread and butter are these dragon eggs this time, used to unlock more of the game. And the eggs are just so giddy over being found that they birth right in front of you, with no mess! Did that bow form in the uterus? You also have these baby dragons that don't like being caught unawares, and... Does this mean the dragons have genets? Now, somebody as nasty as this old bint stealing all of these adorable little babies is bad enough and already makes her appear more like a threatening Cruella de Vil, except scaly and large. But as the game goes on, you then discover she wants to kill them all and rip off their wings for a new spell she's working on. It's not even like she wants to eat them to keep herself alive or anything like that. She just wants to kill them so she can try a new magic trick. If that's not evil, I don't know what is. This causes Bianca to change her mind about being evil, takes her hood off, and that makes Hunter go...
You're a fine-looking woman.
Taking that all aside, though, I also really appreciate how much more the gameplay and story are integrated together. There's way more cutscenes showing off what a cow the Sorceress is, which builds up to her final boss really nicely. Throughout the whole game, Bianca keeps appearing out of nowhere and taunting you. And even with the levels in each world, instead of just going through each of them, helping the people out, and then getting a magical thing to open a door to get closer to the final boss, instead you go to the levels, help the creatures out, and then as thanks, they all work together to build you a new transport method to get to the next area where you can find more hidden dragon eggs. When Hunter gets kidnapped halfway through the game, for a brief amount of time, all of his side missions and all the levels are unavailable. So come on, get on your ass and save him so you can come back and get more dragon eggs. Everything you do in Spyro 3 has a reason, and it just fits into place better, you know? As for the game itself, well, everything that Spyro 2 did to improve on Spyro 1 is here. Everything from the controls to the weird and wonderful character designs that talk to you like they're grazing in a field. But in my humble opinion, it's just Spyro 2 plus. It's Spyro 2, but even better. Not by much, they're still both incredible games, but this one beats it out for me just slightly. I mean, yeah, they removed the charming intro and outro level cutscenes, which does mean some of the levels start with, "There are Rhinox everywhere, kill them!" and end with, "Here, take this egg." But everything else for me was chipped off and polished into the ultimate Simon experience. The camera is panned just a little further back to let you see more of what's around you. None of the temporary power-ups are gated off by enemy defeats. You can stop skating while ice skating now. They brought back way more long gliding platforming sections and secrets that Spyro 1 had, alongside more chances to supercharge than Spyro 1 and 2. Every character around you reacts to being set on fire now, which is a lot better than Spyro 2, where they just stand there, defiantly. You know, not that I flame the characters that much anyway, because so many of them are too adorable and I just want to help them out with their problems.
Our sun has gone out.
Well shit, you're dead. They even added races to the classic Speedway obstacle levels. They're really boring, yeah. Oh, also, Sparks the Dragonfly talks now. I love it. Moneybags came back and he's still a festering wart. Although he doesn't sound like a drunk anymore.
I can let you into the little castle over there in exchange for a few gems.
And now sounds like this.
Spyro! My, how funny to see you here.
He's more like a naughty, jovial uncle that tries to sell his nieces and nephews the warm, opened, sticky sweets from his pocket. You know, bollock sweet. So yeah, he's back to make your life miserable, and so is the caveman with his skeleton friend who's lost all his bones. And yes, he even does the bone dance again. Although this time, he goes on for so long that the regular stage music comes back in the middle of it. It's perfect. You know what? I don't like this Cloud either. Even when you complete his mission and make him happy, the best he can give you is this terrible terrible face. But Moneybags does a little bit more this time instead of just ripping you off to get through doors. Get this. Now he works for the main villain. In fact, he comes right out the gate the first time you see him and just says the sorceress is paying him to be a tool. And he's standing guard for a collection of new animal buddies with their own stages that are fully playable. And once you buy them off of him, you can visit older levels that have their locked doors inside to then get in and find even more gameplay scenarios to make you go, wow, there's more gameplay scenarios. People often feel a bit like these are desperate ideas from a creatively spent development team, but I couldn't disagree more. They're desperate ideas from a creatively strong development team. First off is Sheila the Kangaroo, an adorable little muppet that takes the standard gameplay and flips it on its side to be about vertical height exploration more than long distance gliding. And I find her levels extremely fun whenever you launch into the air and smash downwards. And according to the Reignited trilogy, she isn't female unless she has pigtails and a vag. Next up is Sergeant Bird. And just like that, with the wave of my wand, you're a secret spy just like James Bond. He is an MI5 flying penguin agent with rockets on his shoulders, and I find his part fine. Not the best and not the worst. In open explorative bits with free flying all over the stage, he's a joy, and I appreciate how you can toggle on a below view for aiming drop missiles while still having full control of flight. But in tight spaces, it's like trying to fit an apple in a nostril. Then we have Bentley, a friendly Yeti who for some reason is also a London Cockney.
I genuflect am our noble deliverer.
I don't dislike him whatsoever, but he is my least favourite character to play as, purely because he walks just a little bit too slow for me. I love how he stomps around and smashes everything without any effort and reflects projectiles, but a little bit more speed would have been appreciated. Not to mention, he's so big that he blocks off the screen from the dragon that you just saved. Move it! And lastly, there's Jim Carrey Monkey, who uses a rebounding laser gun, grenade, strafing, and first-person sniper shots to get through his sections. I like these a lot. They're good fun, especially when you find his most powerful weapon, the Child Beard Gun. Plus, in those hidden Speedway bonus levels, you get to do them as Hunter. And that makes them better and more fun than Spyro 2 because it does, and you are listening to me. And hey, did you know that the first ever water birth in a video game was in Spyro 3? Yeah, I'm not joking. Here it is. Welcome to Planet Earth, kid. That's what your lungs filling up with water feels like. Alongside all the animal buddies Simon can save for extra gameplay, you can even control Sparks for the first time ever in his own top-down explorative shooting sections, which I really enjoy as well. You can boost, strafe, use limited power-ups all over the place, and when you finish each one, you unlock a new permanent ability for Spyro, like pointing Sparks towards the direction of missing gems, an absolute godsend, or giving yourself one extra hit before losing a life. But there's literally nothing I dislike in this game or don't look forward to. Nothing. The worst part in any single Spyro game that's ever been released is in Spyro 3. Yes, I'm not exaggerating. Spyro 2 has more low points, but this single low point in 3 topples all of them on its own. The boxing match with Bentley and this filthy rat is utterly unplayable. You're supposed to have 3 attacks and a block, but absolutely none of these moves come out when you need them to. Either the delay is way too much, or Bentley is way too slow. Whatever the case, this stinking piss rag is able to perform every move at twice the speed as you, and somehow manages to combo when you're unable to, and blocks nearly every attack you perform like he's reading your mind. I could go on all day about this abominable challenge, especially when you win 1 egg for beating it once, but then need to survive for 3 rounds for a second egg and come out the other end with the most health, which if you aren't deathly lucky, will take you over half an hour, and it's enough to give me a Diane Weist infection. Now ask yourself this, if a video game about a platforming purple dragon came out in the year 2000, what will it add into it to make it immediately much better? That's right, skateboarding. I shit you not, there's Spyro, the magical fantasy medieval dragon, on a skateboard in space. This is the most long john backwards ass thing I think I've ever seen, but man, I just don't care. It's so much fun, especially the races when you have to keep doing tricks mid-air to build up a speed boost. How can you not love this? Look at him go! That's how I feel about Simon 3 as a whole, actually. It can get pretty stupid, but I just don't care because I'm having too much fun with it. And even if I'm not completely enamored with some of the new stuff, it doesn't matter because most of the game is you and Simon. And the increased charging and gliding segments for his gameplay specifically when compared to Spyro 2 are great enough for me to not mind the more experimental angles. And Spyro very frequently violates personal space.
Be sure to keep your friend Sparks the Dragonfly healthy, Spyro.
And do you mind getting your nose out of my dress? Wow. This bit always gets a laugh out of me. In the mission where you have to protect the ice skater and you mess it up, the enemies end up playing hockey with her. You can even go to Rome and set fire to the Pope! Okay, you can't do that. But you can skate in the Roman Colosseum, though. That makes up for it, I will admit. There's also these penguins here in frozen altars with these voices that I can't decide if they're horrifying or a massive turn-on.
It would be easy to get up to that treasure if you had something to stand on.
Yeah, they're horrifying.
Purr. I don't know why, but I feel really cold.
I swear they are this close to starring in a Netflix serial killer biopic. Oh, and the music this time? My Christ, the music this time? The music in this game just makes me want it. This is one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever, of all time, period. It's everything that made Spyro 2 music so great, but amped up to 11. It's catchier, more percussive and rhythmic, groovier, more varied in genres. Bosses are pretty good too. There's more of them than in Spyro 2, and they all look and feel completely different from each other. Not to mention, I think they all look pretty threatening as well, which is a plus. This guy used to terrify me as a kid. That face gives me a heart attack. I hate it. One tries to knock you back into lava and then sneezes fire at you. One tries to shoot you with ammo that you can steal from him and use back at him. One flies around the arena, showering you with attacks and other enemies to chase you, and is only vulnerable while moving instead of being stationary. And the sorceress herself is like a mix of all of them together, but now with the added bonus of using temporary vehicles to blow her up. And that's more or less how this all ends. After you've done your best sitting there for 3 hours watching the professor do this.
No.
Putting up with Hunter's bullshit.
Thanks. Did you bring any chips?
And saving all the dragons like Mingus. Mingus? What kind of name is that? Actually, fair enough. He looks like a Mingus. Bianca becomes a good guy. You beat the sorceress by shooting her in the goddamn head. Then Hunter and Bianca become a couple. Ugh, guys, get a read. I don't want to see this shit. This is a kid's game. There's not supposed to be any lewd in it. But just like any Simon game, we aren't done yet. After we grab every single gem and dragon egg in the game, we unlock one final endgame stage. We've been to Nasty's Loot, we've been to Dragon Shores, and now our next stop is Super Bonus Round. In all fairness though, I think this is the best reward of all the games. It calls back to Nasty's Loot in terms of it being another actual level, but now there's way more treasure to steal, way more ways of interacting with the stage, way more interesting things to see, places to explore. It's a great unlockable final level, and then this follows on to the true final boss, the sorceress. Again.
I don't know how she did it, Spyro, but the sorceress must have survived that last battle.
What? Wait, how did you get another cameo? Yeah, I don't know either. It's almost like they ran out of ideas, and the worst thing is that she doesn't even come back stronger or angrier. She came back on her mobility scooter. This is honestly not a very good hidden boss, but you know, it's not Spyro 1, so I don't mind. And as for the super secret 100% hidden ending, it is just that. And that's why this is the best fucking game ever. I'm not kidding either. I treasure Spyro 3. It has an adorable wolf puppy you can play fetch with. It has breets. It has a bit where you play Doom. It has a Matrix reference. I mean, who wasn't doing a Matrix reference in the year 2000? It has cowboy dinosaurs. I mean, do you have any cowboy dinosaurs? If you do, can I come over and see them? It has the ultimate revenge fantasy that surpasses Kill Bill by letting you chase down moneybags at the end of the game and burn his completely flame-resistant pants in order to steal all of your gems back from him. So I think it's safe to say Spyro 3 really is the year of the dragon. Well, what a perfect little trilogy for the PlayStation. I'm sure glad it stopped there and they didn't try anything else. Here's The Punisher, a Marvel comic book character video game that was banned in multiple countries. With Marvel being owned by Disney nowadays, that is a sentence I don't think we'll ever read again, unless Spider-Man turns out to be a public groper. But even though this was indeed banned in multiple countries, the UK still somehow managed to slip it into their little colon, because this here is a censored version.
which you still can't buy in a load of other countries.
Hello everyone, it's me, your favorite YouTube content creator, Steve.
Because it was only one part of the entire game that was censored to avoid the ban hammer in the UK. The rest of it, as far as I could tell, is basically exactly the same. Leading me to ask, why bother censoring any of it to begin with? And what was it that they changed? Well, sit down, shut up, wait, and you'll soon see.
The game starts up and we have a cutscene.
Last bullet.
Oh. Well, this isn't going to be a very long shooting game, is it? And so far, I've got to say, I'm starting to understand why the game was banned in other territories. It was banned because they couldn't see any of it. Time to pick a level, then, I guess. Oh, that's pleasant.
Yes! We're going to the crack house!
And just in case you didn't see it, the level description has you covered. Crack house. Crack house. One of New York's many crack houses.
Sorry, are we going to a crack house?
I don't know, but wherever we're going, the Punisher's heading there with a spring in his step. Shooting baddies, shooting baddies, shooting baddies. That's all that's really going on here. And hey, look, the game incentivizes you to not mindlessly kill innocents in order to get your own health back. So why was this banned? It all seems above board to me. And just look at how the Punisher moves. That's not a raving lunatic looking to shoot up a zoo. That's your neighbor having a comfortable jog in a trench coat. Now that I say that out loud, actually, yeah, that's almost scarier. Don't talk to that neighbor.
Hey, you're the Punisher. Thanks, man.
For what?
For saving my life?
Right.
Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I am totally failing to see why any of this was deemed controversial. You're a guy taking out drug dealers who are shooting at you first. What's not to love? And even if you think you can go over the top and pull the trigger on random civilians,
I don't kill innocents.
You actually aren't allowed to. Trust me, I tried. My favorite parts of the game, though, are when you find a proper hard badass taunting you from behind a rifle, and then a few seconds later they immediately change their mind.
I don't do drugs, man. I just live here. Okay, I do drugs.
Come on, this is funny. Punisher is funny. You can't ban something for being funny. Why do you think I haven't been banned yet? Even the most up-close and personal violent moments, the interrogations, aren't that bad at all. And once again, the game tells you not to overdo them, otherwise you lose points and don't get the mission information you need. So it's in your best interest to keep the game rated PG-13. To be fair though, this one was easily the nastiest. Forcing a man's face in between the legs of another man's corpse. Hey man, are you happy to see me? Or is that rigor mortis?
I don't know, guys. Maybe this version of the game is more censored than I gave it credit for. Perhaps we should take a look at some footage from the original uncut PC version, and maybe we'll see what the big deal was.
Okay, so these are the reason the game was in its naughty 40s. That at least makes a little more sense, but at the same time, come on, in an age of Mortal Kombat, this stuff isn't too over the top. The Xbox version I've been playing for this video censored all of these moments by slapping a high contrast black and white filter on top and often changing the camera angles so you don't see what really happens. But like, just because you move the camera away from the woodcutter doesn't mean I don't see the man going inside the woodcutter. It's still very violent, and some of these changes are outright dumb. Yes, a black and white filter doesn't change the fact that Harold's face got chewed off. Yes, I can still see Barry's head getting kicked into the concrete side of a water fountain with rivers of blood flying everywhere. And yes, I can still see that we are beating Richard's head against a toilet. And no amount of black and white will convince me that that isn't a toilet. Why did they censor a John? Furthermore, in the exact same version of the game, this is okay, this is okay, and this is okay. The game itself is good fun though. It isn't stellar, good lord, but if you want a game that's just running around and shooting people with double trigger action, you can sure do a lot worse. You play as the Punisher, also known as Frank Castle.
I went to Frank Castle once. The food was shit.
Where you murder as many criminals as possible while the police go, "Oh no, stop it, you can't do that." But why was it banned or censored? No clue. It's only a lump of pixels. Look at this, the Punisher doesn't even climb ladders angrily. That's the ladder climb of a gentleman.
I got ants in my pants!
Airblade may just be the game for you. A forgotten little ditty on the PS2 released in 2001 and made by the same people who did the Burnout game. So as you can see, they're very good at making games with wheels. Which is why in Airblade, you're playing a game that has no wheels. The simplest way I can describe Airblade is to take the time limit mission objective open-ended style of the Tony Hawk series and swap a plank of wood for a hoverboard. Yes, a hoverboard. And as ridiculous as Tony Hawk on a hoverboard sounds, for the most part, I feel like Airblade completely nails what it sets out to do. In fact, dare I say it's a a hidden game. Look, it even has a story mode with cutscenes. This is our main character, Ethan. He sounds like this.
Oscar hijacked the stick? No wonder the suits are so bummed.
And because of that, I hate him. He also dresses like a traffic light. So the plot here is that Ethan's house is being raided by the government because of a strange package that his roommate? Grandpa? Friend with benefits received. Nobody knows what it is or why it's so important, but that obviously means we need to take it immediately without thinking about it and go on the run to become a fugitive.
That was great.
As it turns out, this secret package was actually a hoverboard, which Ethan magically knows how to use straight away, and then holy shit, you're able to do basically anything on it within 15 seconds of picking it up. Ethan is my kind of guy. My first time on a hoverboard was nothing like this. Like I said earlier, Airblade is basically Tony Hawk in terms of its arcadey mission-based structure and time limit, except here, it's way more linear. You get story-based missions that need to be completed one after the other, and completing each one increases your total time limit. To do these missions, it usually means initiating a sequence of tricks around the environment and pedestrians, or sometimes exploring the open-ended levels from top to bottom to find the correct thing to grab or grind across to reach higher places. The story mode itself is laughably tiny, and the cutscenes are admittedly awful, but I'll be damned, this is one of the smoothest running and satisfying skating games I've ever played. It takes a while to get the hang of it, but once you do, it feels as natural as breathing, and you're able to do some crazy flippy floppy Kingdom Hearts shit unheard of in other skating games. Up here on the screen is your boost meter, which I suppose you could also say is your fuel. It doesn't stop you from moving if it runs out, don't worry, but this boost meter is needed to not only speed up around the level and give yourself more air up ramps, but is also used up by pressing and holding the jump button to give you a small hover and glide depending on how much boost you have. These two abilities, especially for the timed missions, are vital, so how do you get more boosts? Well, you do more tricks, of course, and where linking them together during one large mid-air combo spinning around poles and landing on rails is preferable, emergency boost fuel can be given to you by simply hitting the flip trick button, because I don't know if you noticed, but you float, meaning that you can do unlimited flip tricks without bailing, which is also used for attacking enemies. Airblade is far from amazing, but colour me impressed because this is the most original arcade skating game I've ever played. It controls fantastically, looks great for a 2001 PS2 game, runs as smooth as butter, and yeah, the music isn't amazing either. I mean, one track sounds like someone left the kettle on. But I would say this is certainly a diamond in the rough. Ugh! Come on! Can't we get a good game for a change? Is that too much to ask?
How about this one?
Oh. Why?
Because The Emperor's New Groove is the funniest Disney movie, so the game might be just as good.
Oh. Yeah, alright. Gee, thanks, honey. You know what? My girlfriend and me couldn't be any more on the same wavelength, I swear. We know each other so well that we even finish each other's...
What?
Now, like I said, I've never played this game before until now, but as far as Disney PS1 games go, whenever you bring them up in casual conversation, don't worry, we've all been there. I have heard that this one is apparently one of the better ones, which I wouldn't be able to tell from the menu screen because what is that? And why is there a faceless Weidman? Oh, actually, I can see his face. He left it on the roof, and perhaps that face should have stayed there because, oh lord, his face came back and I am not happy with any of it. What is with these mouth animations? It looks like he's chewing on Gandhi's sandal. But let's get down to brass tacks. Ow. Is this game as good as everyone remembers it being? Yes. I was pleasantly surprised by this one, I will be honest. I couldn't tell you why the hell they decided to make a comedy road trip movie into a video game and do it relatively well, but somehow those crazy bastards did it. It's another Spyro clone like the Dalmatians game, but it's way better designed. It looks better, it feels better, there's more ways to move, more ways to unlock collectibles, more tense and interesting platforming. Sure, it's more linear and a little less explorative, but for a game about controlling a llama, you can do a lot worse.
Use your look button to see the red idol on top of the statue.
I would love to, little boy, but I'm a bit too confused by you. You've got the feet of hair combs and the body of a seal. And just like the movie, the game is pretty funny sometimes.
You've broken my toy llama again!
Oh no, bad llama, bad.
Just don't charge around by the tree, okay?
I mean, check out that walking animation. It's so good. How can you not love it? There's also the timed obstacle challenges while you charge, sliding races, aiming and shooting games, but with spit. What is it with Disney and Flem? There's even a stealth segment where you need to keep moving forward while hiding behind obstacles every time your target decides to turn around.
I'm a secret agent.
But this lady, though, woof. What happened to her? What's her name? eczema? Yeah, eczema. She looks pretty bad. She's so filthy, even her breast milk has expired. Lego Island Extreme Stunts is a useless cream on the stump of a man with no arm. You can't save Lego Island's missing arm. The cream won't work. Just give up. Be Pepper, the stuntman hero. Oh yes, because as we all know, Pepper is the master of all stunts. Speaking of, you're gonna spell extreme with an X, but not spell stunts with a Z? That's a missed opportunity there. How do you think you'll sell this game to the kids? Right, I'm ready to go. What have you got in store for me, Lego Island 3? So I gave the disc a thorough clean, it started working, and this is the first thing that I see.
Amazing!
Well, as it turns out, Lego Island 3 is all about Pepper being the stuntman in an upcoming movie being filmed on the island. And that's it, really. And after the beginning with that, epic stunt, we then get thrown into another stunt where we just drive a car and deliberately crash it over and over again. Not sure that's classifiable as a stunt, but if it is, I suppose that means Lindsay Lohan is the greatest stunt driver of all time. Well, hey, howdy, hey, look at that. I got a high score, and my name is... What's upsetting, though, is that after all of that, I don't think I could have done the stunt that well, because everything that I just did wasn't even used in the cut that they filmed. I'm pretty sure that isn't even me. Are they just sick and tired of Pepper and his stupid pun name and want to try killing him while pretending he's going to be in a Hollywood movie? Is this stunt movie just a big convenient cover-up to murder Pepperoni in a horrible accident? I gotta say, I'm feeling very sorry for him right now. I gotta say, I don't feel sorry for him right now. Now, I may have joked earlier about Pepper being a terrible master of stunts, but I'll be damned, he's had a serious upgrade to his movement from Lego Island 2. He can properly skateboard and do tricks whenever he wants. He can double jump stupidly high for some great explorative platforming. For a PS2 game, Extreme Stunts looks pretty good, and much like Bionicle, runs as smooth as butter, making the exploration around the island more enjoyable along with the great controls. This is the best island in the Lego Island series by far, followed by the first one, and the second one didn't happen. Sure, the car physics are a bit shit. Pepper, stop it. But so far, I like this game. I even found myself a skate park to get the hang of the wonky skateboard trick controls, and before you're able to start filming other stunts, you need to get a license to drive, a license to fly, and a license to... water. After which, you don't only get to film the said stunts in little mini games to progress the story, but also get to use the vehicles that you got the license for all around the island anytime you want. As for the lessons themselves, I passed with flying colours. Instead of brute forcing you into a series of lackluster and childish mini-games that you have no choice but to do in the order they make you, like in Lego Island 2, all you do here is explore, find bricks to build different animals around the area, collect trading cards, and do the stunt missions as and when you want to, depending on how many items you've earned from other mini-games, based on helping other locals out with their own problems and doing other stunts. Now, there is a side plot, believe it or not. You aren't just filming a stunt movie, you're also trying to catch the Brickster on camera trying to murder you on the set. Why is he out of prison? And you'd think that after one miserable slide puzzle that proves definitively that the Brickster is trying to end me, that would be enough proof to lock him back up.
Need more to put that pesky Brickster behind bars.
But no, what are you, stupid?
My desk!
No, you're on Lego Island, where intelligence comes to perish. Out of all of these things though, you want to know why this is the best Lego Island game I've played for this video? Because Pepper shuts his gob and doesn't say anything.
My sack is so heavy.
And this is something that really surprised me. The UK weren't okay with the original Carmageddon, we weren't okay with the original Punisher, we're still not okay with the original Manhunt 2, but Postal 2, shove that shit on the shelf! I am a bit worried about showing this game off on this video though, because the gameplay description alone is enough to make me nervous. 5 days in a week, multiple errands per day. Whoa, shit! Features: Epic's Unreal Warfare engine, liquid dynamics, sophisticated AI, absurd over-the-top violent content, and the most exciting gameplay addition of all, Gary Coleman. The game begins, and the very first thing we see is a strange man having a little dance with a cat, followed by a fart. And if that doesn't set the tone, I don't know what will.
I made a list of errands for you on the fridge.
Jesus, woman.
This is our lovable and relatable main character, everybody. He's very nice. And he also has a dog that has a bit of a problem. And just like the back of the box said, we have a day of the week and we have an errand. So it's time for us to go and collect our monthly paycheck from our job. So far, this is pretty mundane stuff. We're just going to the office right now. And on the way, we play a little bit of bastard fish and then follow mushroom-shaped police officers into Chinese restaurants called Cock Asian, where they sell the crappy cheeseburger. I'm really failing to see the controversy so far. Hey, you, why are you going into that condemned building?
Get the hell out of here, you lunatic! Ah!
Oh. When we get to the office, we then come across some protesters telling us how disgusting video games are, and I've got to say, they do bring up some good points, such as bottom, and this is where you figure out that you actually have a job at the game developers that make the Postal games themselves, running with scissors. We pick up our check, and then there's a cutscene where the protesters decide they've had enough of going bah, 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 bah. So they suddenly grab a load of assault rifles and storm the building. But I'm not here to kill these innocent people with a right to protest, I'm here to shoot people who insult me.
How about some of this?
What? Okay, right then. I gave all of you a chance. I tried to let you leave peacefully, but you've left me no choice but to shoot my way out. Why do you look like you're sitting on a horse? Phew, this day is already getting a little too much for me. I mean, this lady was so overwhelmed by everything, she fainted and died on the spot. Oh Christ, now the butcher's after me. What did I ever do to you? Oh man, this is not good. Absolutely everyone and their mother is out to get me now, so it's time for me to run away, hide in a tunnel, and set these homeless people on fire. Ow! Well, that was a flop. Yeah, I really should have seen that coming, shouldn't I? Gotta say, though, I had no idea that my coat was part of my own skin. Why does it look like burned flesh? Freak. Here we are again, back to life like nothing happened. A fresh slate, a new start, and I'm here to help this community flourish with me and my dog. Are you shooting my dog? What else am I supposed to do here? I mean, I haven't tried every key on the keyboard yet, so what happens if I press... Did I just unzip my flies?
That's the ticket.
Ow! Zip up your pants!
Oh, can it, lady? You can't tell me what to do. Here, take that! Yeah, rub it right in. It's good for your skin. How much urine does this guy have? It's just a never-ending torrent of piss. It won't stop. And the pressure behind it. Look at my aim. There's no splashes off to the side or anything. And why does it look like Sunny D? I love this game. Oh, hello. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Gangley. You know what you could do with? A drink?
That's the ticket.
Well, would you look at that? Even though I've been doing my civic duty to provide free lemonade to the public during a hot day, I got arrested. I could always try and fight my way out with some matches and tripping the fire alarm, but nah, I'm too embarrassed. There's only one right way out for me. Okay, well, I'm not happy with the way any of that turned out, so I'm going to try all of this again. And you know what the funny thing about Postal 2 is? If you want to, you don't ever have to draw your weapon or fire it. Like the box says, you have a list of errands to run, you have a shitty little life in a shitty little house with shitty little curtains, and you are left to deal with the issues however you want to. Sure, you could massacre the entire town, set them on fire, and then piss all over them to put them out, but you can equally just find all of the neighborhood dogs and feed them treats, eat all of the dog treats yourself, or stand patiently in a corner shop queue and legally buy your goat's milk for the wife. Hang on, what's this? Employees only, infidels keep out. Well, why? What's in here that I shouldn't see? Now it's Tuesday, and I have a petition that nobody is willing to sign.
Would you please sign my petition?
What are you doing in here?
Well, fine. If none of you want to sign this form, I'll set the marching band on fire. That'll teach you. Oh, hey there, young man. Want to sign my petition?